Chapter 64. Chen Guang was very unhappy the whole night. Although he had been slacking off a lot these days and had a lot of sports cars, the most important thing in life was to be happy. In life, the most important thing was to be in a good mood. Originally, sports cars had become something that could lighten one's mood, but now, he had to do it for the sake of money. It was the same thing, but in a different mood. That made him feel uncomfortable. Standing at the side of the stadium, Chen Guang felt bitter in his heart. He really couldn't be happy at all. He picked up the cup and drank some water. There was a tea leaf in his mouth, but he didn't spit it out immediately. Instead, he carefully took a few sips. When he left the dormitory this morning, Chen Guang very cleverly went to the grocery store to buy a cup cover and put the heavenly holy grail in it to prevent Liuli's bikini portrait from being exposed. It could be considered as saving his own face and protecting Liuli's body at the same time. It was really killing two birds with one stone. However, there was a small problem. Cup covers weren't commonly seen, and usually, not many guys would buy them. There weren't many in the grocery store, and even if there were, most of them were for girls. When Chen Guang went there were only 3 cup covers, and they were all in the same format, pink Hello Kitty. God gave Chen Guang 3 choices, but all 3 were B's. Since it was his own decision, he had to accept it even with tears in his eyes. Thus, Chen Guang used the Hello Kitty cup cover without hesitation. What kind of experience would it be like for a pure man to hold a pink Hello Kitty cup cover and stand in the stadium and drink water? One could simply try to figure it out with the eyes of others. Everyone looked askance at him. This was going to blind people's dog eyes. Chen Guang's face was calm. This brother's might and handsomeness couldn't be hidden. Since that was the case, he might as well face life with a smile. A true warrior often had to live under the strange gazes of others. Don't be infatuated with this brother. This brother doesn't walk the ordinary path. A track and field competition was going on in the stadium. The reason Chen Guang came here was simple. Sun Xiaoxuan and Wenwen would both participate in the women's 100-meter sprint. Chen Guang's swimming competition was in the afternoon, so he came here to see what was going on. Beside him was Bai Nyangzi, while Lin Jingwei and Xiong Jinka had gone to participate in their respective competitions. On the way, Bai Nyangzi had complained about Chen Guang's pink mug cover at least 50 times, so his mouth was now taped up. Woo woo. Woo 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 woo. White Snake was really a guy with tenacious willpower. Even if his mouth was stained, he could still express his thoughts through his whimpers. As he whimpered, he pointed at Chen Guang's cup with a weird smile. He understood the principle of, if you don't court death, you won't get. Brother Guang. Your condoms are so cute. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. Get lost. I'll stuff your nose too if you keep talking nonsense. F***CK. Even his nose is blocked. Are you even human? Bai Nyangzi finally stopped. On the other side, the women's 100-meter sprint had entered the preparation stage. Sun Xiaoxuan and Wenwen were doing their own warm-ups in different areas. Sun Xiaoxuan actually knew Wenwen. After all, the campus belle of Wen University was quite famous. She had also waited for Chen Guang outside the classroom several times. For today's sprint competition, Wen University's campus belle wore a skin-tight sports singlet and a pair of elastic shorts that covered her knees. Although this way of dressing prevented all the possibility of being exposed, it also showed off her slender and beautiful figure. Even though she had deliberately kept a low profile, she still became the focus of the scene. As for Sun Xiaoxuan, the sprinting equipment she had chosen was relatively loose, so her figure was not obvious. Moreover, she was a little short, so she was drowned in the crowd. Only a few sharp-eyed people saw her and exclaimed, "Ah, look at that girl. She looks so pure." Chen Guang was well aware of Wenwen's ability. He was 100% sure that as long as she wanted to win the championship, no one would be her match. Therefore, Chen Guang was not worried about the campus belle at all. Instead, he was more concerned about Sun Xiaoxuan's condition. She had been drugged last night, so he did not know how she was recovering today. She would not faint halfway through the race, right? Sun Xiaoxuan's movements seemed a little stiff when she did her warm-up, so he could not help but worry about her. On the other side, the teacher responsible for arranging the groups for the preliminaries had already started calling people with the name list. Chen Guang began to put his hands together and pray. Bai Nyangzi, who was next to him, finally pulled off the tape on his face. Brother Guang, you must be praying that the class rep and the campus belle won't be in the same group, right? Do you have the ability to read minds? Bai Nyangzi had hit the nail on the head on Chen Guang's head, but how could he admit it? Stop it. What does it matter if they're in the same group? I don't have anything to do with the two of them. I might be charming, but you can't possibly think that the two of them like me, right? Chen Guang spoke calmly, but his trembling hands revealed the uneasiness in his heart. The class rep most likely won't be able to escape. But the campus belle probably doesn't like you. You two are basically brothers. Although I haven't spoken to the campus belle many times, I can tell that we're the same type of person. Bai Nyangzi vowed solemnly. Ah. What do you mean we're the same type of person? You're a sissy, and Wen is a tomboy. Okay, in a broad sense, the two of them are really different, they're the same type. Tomboys definitely can't like men. Something's wrong. Damn it, it seems like Bai Nyangzi is publicly admitting that his sexual orientation is incorrect. Is he hinting that he doesn't like women, but men? Why is he hinting at me? Does he have feelings for me? Chen Guang's phone rang, and Bai Nyangzi's bitter voice came through. I say, Brother Guang, how can you quietly move 50 meters away while thinking about things in your heart? I think you're only the size of a sesame seed. It's okay, I can see better from here. It's cool and clear. Chen Guang stood at the entrance of the stadium and waved at Bai Nyangzi from afar. Are you suspecting that I like men? I'm going to strangle you. Bai Nyangzi finally realized that something was wrong. No, nothing of the sort. Chen Guang had already run to the other side of the stadium, facing Bai Nyangzi from afar. We're all brothers, so don't get too excited. We'll each take one side, and we'll surround all the beauties in the stadium. We'll catch them all in one go. F*CKU. Chen Guang joked with Bai Nyangzi while paying attention to the groups below. What he was afraid of had really happened. Wen and Sun Xiaoxuan were actually in the same group. He didn't know when the two of them had actually gathered together, and they were talking and laughing with each other. He didn't know what they were talking about. For a moment, Chen Guang's heart was itching, but he didn't have clairaudience. The stadium was noisy, and he had to shout to speak from a distance of 2 meters, so how could he hear them clearly? He didn't know why, but looking at the sweet smile on their faces, Chen Guang was a little flustered. Chapter 65. No one knew what Wen and Sun Xiaoxuan talked about. They didn't talk for long, and the sprint began soon. Sun Xiaoxuan seemed to be a bit angry. She was obviously not in a good state. After all, she had just drugged her last night. But she still stood in front of the starting point with a firm face, gritting her teeth, and a firm look in her eyes. It was really strange to see such an expression on the face of a girl from Jiangnan, who was supposed to be as calm as water. On the other side, Wen, who was 3 tracks away from Sun Xiaoxuan, looked calm. She just stretched her body from time to time, revealing the explosive power hidden in her beautiful body. No matter how you looked at it, the champion of Wen and Sun Xiaoxuan's group would definitely be Wen. The others couldn't be considered a threat at all. Chen Guang, who was hiding in the crowd, shrunk his neck. He didn't know why, but he felt that Wen and Sun Xiaoxuan, who were 3 tracks away, were full of murderous intent and turbulent undercurrents. With the sound of the starting gun, everyone started running at full speed. Without any suspense, Wen had the absolute advantage from the beginning and took the lead. To everyone's surprise, Sun Xiaoxuan was not far behind Wen, firmly occupying the second place. Her gymnastics training wasn't for nothing. But for some reason, Chen Guang felt that something was amiss about this matter. Wen ran with ease, but Sun Xiaoxuan risked his life to catch her. Finally, Wen and Sun Xiaoxuan crossed the finish line one after another. Wen slowed down slowly, but Sun Xiaoxuan fell to the ground in an ugly posture. He rolled around for a while before he managed to stabilize his body. Chen Guang was worried and wanted to rush over to help, but Wen had already helped Sun Xiaoxuan up. Sun Xiaoxuan's footsteps looked very weak, and she almost couldn't stand steadily. She had indeed used all her strength to run like this under the after effects of the drug. But even so, she still pushed away Wenwen's hand and moved to the side to hold the fence, gasping for breath. Then, she turned her head to look at Wenwen and said something. Chen Guang was too far away, and he didn't know how to read lips, so he could only watch anxiously. When Wenwen heard this, a meaningful smile blossomed on her face. No one knew what she said to Sun Xiaoxuan, but she immediately turned around and left. Chen Guang was going to help Sun Xiaoxuan, but Gaoye was already there. She supported Sun Xiaoxuan and waved her fist at the back of Wenwen, who was leaving without looking back, as if to demonstrate her power. Thus, Chen Guang wisely decided to flee. Although he didn't do anything wrong and didn't do anything, the intense smell of gunpowder definitely had something to do with him, no matter how he looked at it. If the old man wasn't being narcissistic, there wouldn't be any suspense at all. Otherwise, why would Sun Xiaoxuan and Wenwen, two people who had nothing to do with each other, get into a conflict like this? That's right. They must be fighting over him. The old man had this kind of charm. But what did they talk about just now? Chen Guang really wanted to know. But subconsciously, he told himself that he couldn't ask. If he didn't ask, everything would remain the same. But there were some things and some words that he couldn't say out loud. Forget it, I'll pretend I didn't see anything. Quietly hiding in the crowd, Chen Guang slipped out of the stadium. On the other side, Bai Nyangzi called. He was howling over the phone, "Hey! Brother Guang! Where did you go? The class leader is about to collapse. Come and help." Chen Guang chuckled, "Aren't you and Gaoye here? I have something urgent to attend to, so I have to go." "Hey! How would I dare to help my sister-in-law? If this happened in ancient times, I'd be drowned in a pig cage." Bai Nyangzi really wanted to see the world in chaos. Chen Guang spat, F***ck off. "Who asked you to help her? Gaoye will be fine, right? You just have to watch from the side and call me if there's an emergency. Oh yeah, if there's a chance, help me ask what Sun Xiaoxuan and Wenwen said just now. Why do my words sound wrong? Shouldn't I refute what his sister-in-law said first?" On the other end of the line, Bai Nyangzi looked like he understood. I get it. She's the campus belle of Wen University, after all. What do you know?" Chen Guang cursed inwardly. Bai Nyangzi chuckled, "Brother Guang, you don't have to say any more. I understand men's thoughts. Don't worry, I won't let you down." "Don't worry. Why should I worry? What's your mission?" Chen Guang quickly asked. On the other end, Bai Nyangzi had already hung up. Chen Guang suddenly felt that it was a complete mistake to let Bai Nyangzi be a spy. Forget it. Since things have come to this, I don't care anymore. I don't have the time to play any tricks to please both sides, especially when one of them is a real brother, Wenwen. I don't have such a heavy taste, but she's a tomboy. The old man had no desires. Just imagining himself dating Wenwen and seeing her act like a couple, he had goosebumps all over his body. What the old man was most worried about now was money. Chen Guang squeezed the bank card in his wallet bitterly. His heart ached when he thought about how he was about to have a slimming operation. Just then, his cell phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was an unknown number. A man's sixth sense came into play. Without a doubt, it must be Wu Tong. He had registered her number yesterday. Now that she was calling, it was most likely to be a debt collector. As expected, he picked up the call. Hello, Chen Guang, are you in school now? I'm Wu Tong. I'm looking for you in school. Sorry, the number you have dialed is unavailable. Please try again later. Can you not be childish? Can't you at least act a little more realistic? Your phone's operator is unavailable. Are you trying to call me later? Wu Tong expressed her disdain to him. Chen Guang pinched his thigh. Tell me, why are you looking for me? I just went to Shenangjia with my tutor for a scientific investigation. You know Shenangjia, right? It's the place where savages roar through the mountains and plains. You can even see tigers from time to time. I'm very busy. If there's anything, can you wait until I come back? What's the matter? Have you forgotten that you still haven't paid the 10,000 yuan fine? Yesterday, when I helped you with the procedures, I used my own money to pay for it. You have to pay me back, right? You can't possibly renege on the police's money, right? That's right. Wu Tong, who had fallen in love yesterday, did not take this matter seriously. She simply used her own money to pay for it. Today, she really wanted to look for Chen Guang. She could use this matter as an excuse. Actually, she wasn't bothered about the money, but she wanted to use this as an excuse to meet with Chen Guang again. Last night's incident was too bizarre, and she couldn't understand it. So she wouldn't feel uneasy if she didn't confirm the situation. She could not face herself like that. Hee hee. Chen Guang was amused. If that was the case, then don't blame the old man for being ruthless. When the old man became shameless, even he was afraid. Chapter 66. There's actually such a good thing. The money should be paid by him. No matter how unwilling Chen Guang was, he wouldn't renege on his debt. But since you've already paid for me, and I didn't write you an IOU, and you're such a hateful person, how can I return the money to you so easily? Even if I drag it out for 10 days to half a month to disgust you, I'll still save the money in some bank and earn a few dozen yuan in interest. Ahahaha. It's decided then. Wu Tong really overestimated Chen Guang. She didn't care about money, but Chen Guang cared about money. Okay, Officer Wu, I'll definitely return the money later. But I really can't come back these 2 days. Io, there's a cave in front. My tutor went in first, I can't talk to you now, I have to follow and see the situation. Don't worry, how could I renege on my debt? I wouldn't dare even if I had 10,000 guts. When I come back, I promise I'll return the money to you. Okay, I'm afraid it's not safe for the tutor to be alone in the cave. I'll hang up first, I'll call you later. Clatter. After saying that, Chen Guang really hung up. What you want is pure love, what I want is only interest. As the saying goes, summer insects cannot talk about ice, this is the logic. Chen Guang whistled happily, ran to the cafeteria alone, and rubbed himself a fat meal. Then he took his swimming suit and hid in a corner of the school, quietly waiting for the afternoon competition. There was still a follow-up competition in the afternoon, so Sun Xiaoxuan definitely wouldn't be able to come and see him. Chen Guang felt that this was also a good thing. He could quietly swim through this round before running to his car. He was lacking money. In the middle, Sun Xiaoxuan gave him a call. Hey! Class monitor, I watched your race in the gym today, you ran well. But then I was in a hurry, so I left early, so I didn't come over to say hello. By the way, your body hasn't recovered yet, don't work so hard in the afternoon, okay? The most important thing is to participate. It wouldn't be good if you accidentally hurt yourself. As soon as the phone was connected, Chen Guang said in one breath. He didn't ask what Wenwen said to her. He was deliberately avoiding it. On the other side of the phone, Sun Xiaoxuan also grunted, Bai Fan told me everything. Don't worry, I'm just a little unconvinced this morning. I don't want to admit defeat. On the other end of the phone, Chen Guang raised his eyebrows. From the girl's words, he heard something different. It seemed that Sun Xiaoxuan had changed. In the past, she was always so gentle and quiet, a standard Jiangnan girl. Even if Pan Jiang tried to drug her, when she mentioned Pan Jiang again, she would not show that kind of hatred. She would only treat Pan Jiang as a stranger. But today, such a simple sentence conveyed a strong message to Chen Guang. She was still the same person, but she had found a goal that could change her personality. In order to achieve this goal, she didn't hesitate to change herself from an introverted and reserved girl to a strong and unyielding woman. What did Wenwen say to you? In the end, Chen Guang didn't dare to ask directly, although that's true, but, I know what you mean. Don't worry, I get it. Sprinting is not my strength, so why should I fight in a field where someone is better than me? It's not wise to attack the opponent's strong point with my weak point. Besides, I lost in the end. But I didn't think I had to win, I just didn't want her to look down on me. Sun Xiaoxuan said a few more words, then said, you have to do your best in the swimming competition in the afternoon. I can't come, but you still have to win. Then she hung up the phone. Chen Guang couldn't take it anymore, so he quickly called Wenwen. I say, Miss Wen. What did you say to Sun Xiaoxuan today? There's nothing between me and her, all right? Chen Guang said ferociously as he continued, don't try anything weird with me. What do you mean by two girls fighting for a husband? That doesn't fit the old man's style. Pfft. Wenwen, who was on the other end of the phone, couldn't help but laugh. I didn't say anything to her. I just said that Chen Guang often mentioned you to me, saying that you helped him a lot in class. That's all. What the F***ck? What do you mean I often mentioned her to you? That's a groundless thing, okay? Chen Guang vomited blood. Wenwen laughed, what else could I say? I'm your bro, and she's your class monitor. We're at least acquaintances, so you can't just say hello when you see her, right? Isn't that too distant? But she's acting so weird now. I'm a little panicked. Isn't it easy to misunderstand what you said? Chen Guang said. Wenwen laughed, bro, I'm helping you. You've been single for 3 years, and in another year, you'll be kicked out of school. I know that I'm a beautiful lady, and I've raised your aesthetic standards, making you picky. As your best friend, I feel very ashamed and remorseful. It's my fault for being too beautiful. I think this Sun Xiaoxuan is not bad, and she's also very beautiful. If I can really get you two together because of this, won't you thank me? That makes sense. Chen Guang was left speechless. He felt that Wenwen definitely didn't say everything, but he knew that it was pointless for him to ask again. She was like this. If she was willing to tell you, she would tell you from the beginning. If she didn't want to say it, you wouldn't be able to hear it even if you held a knife to your neck. Wenwen looked at her watch. Okay, your competition is about to start, so don't talk nonsense with me. You've been playing games, competing in swimming, and going to the police station for the past few days. Don't forget what you have to do. The CT4 exam is only 2 weeks away. If you fail again, your degree will be gone. This lady's blood-vomiting boob bounty is also going to be ruined. How does she know I'm in the police station? Chen Guang's heart skipped a beat, but before he could ask again, the woman hung up the phone. I've had enough. Why do you always only say half of what you want to say? Isn't this torturing me? Class rep son, oh class rep son, why are you so naive? Didn't you notice the nature of Wenwen, this tomboy? A normal man can like anyone, but he can't like her. At most, we can only be considered as gay. What kind of jealousy are you eating? Is there a need to give me a nirvana rebirth metamorphosis? Chen Guang fiercely hung up the phone. He didn't realize that the reason why he could change Sun Xiaoxuan's mentality was because Wenwen deliberately made Sun Xiaoxuan feel like a love rival. However, if Sun Xiaoxuan's feelings weren't so firm, then this love rival identity wouldn't be established. At this moment, he completely forgot that less than an hour ago, there was still police officer Wu Tong, who loved him to death last night and today became his creditor, who was also hung up by him. Chapter 67. Come to think of it, Wenwen's big sale, hee hee, I'm looking forward to it. At that time, all I need to do is cover her face with a piece of paper. She should forget the cruel truth that I'm a tomboy, and enjoy my exclusive benefits wholeheartedly, right? That's right, I have to cover my face. Otherwise, I won't be able to stand it. With this in mind, Chen Guang dived into the pool in a daze. Without any suspense, those who were unfortunately placed in the same group as him in the second round of the preliminaries once again fell under his tight-fitting pomegranate swimming trunks. Dong Tao might have used his connections to avoid Chen Guang in the second round of the preliminaries. However, Chen Guang had also grasped a little about the way to enter the water. Without slapping the water with his palms, his speed had increased. Even if Dong Tao was given another chance, he wouldn't end up any better. After leaving him in the dust, it was time for him to enjoy the passionate pursuit of the people in the swimming complex. After yesterday's incident, Torpedo Light had become a celebrity in the school's swimming circle, a typical representative of the masters among the people. The number of fans he had also increased from 0 to many. It was a qualitative change. Chen Guang had just taken a shower and was walking out of the changing room in casual clothes. He bumped into Coach Qin. Student Chen Guang. Please wait. Coach Qin still didn't give up. Coach Qin. Look over there. It's going to fall. It's going to hit someone. Chen Guang squatted down and suddenly pointed at the ceiling of the swimming complex, his face full of horror. Coach Qin's heart skipped a beat. He quickly turned his head and looked in the direction Chen Guang was pointing at. Strange, there was nothing there. When he turned his head again, Chen Guang had already slipped away. As he ran, he wiped his tears at the girls waiting for him at the door. Cute little girls, it's not that I don't want to stay and talk philosophy with you, it's just that the conditions don't allow me to. If I had the chance, I would like to exchange numbers with each of you, have dinner with you, sing karaoke, and have some fun. But I can't. Coach Qin was too clingy. Damn Coach Qin. Damn Coach Qin. With a monstrous hatred for Qin Yuanhua, Chen Guang ran out of the swimming complex with tears and snot, and went straight to the parking lot. My brother, Chen Guang, is going to make a comeback? He happily drove out of the school. Although he felt a little lonely and cold when he thought that he would soon become a pauper again, there was a high chance that he would not be satisfied in this world. Since the money was gone, he could earn it again. Nothing could stop him from living happily. At least he was much happier than Pan Jiang, who was treating eggs in the hospital, right? That afternoon, Chen Guang of it. Of Coach Chen Guang. Chen of it. Chen Guan of to tu of to tu of zhou. Of, Chen of. Tu, and he. Chen of Guf car of to 4. He too. He parked the car on the side of the road and calculated for a while. Deducting the cost of the gas, he could earn a net profit of nearly 200 yuan. Just thinking about it made him feel good. He swallowed his saliva and muttered to himself. He had one last regret today. The girl from Dechuan Conservatory of Music that he had just pulled was very pretty. He had been chatting along the way, and he could have asked for her phone number. Unfortunately, he was thirsty and wanted to drink water. She accidentally noticed his Hello Kitty cup cover. Well, this time it was all for naught. The other party thought that he was a little pink and immediately lost the mood to talk. Now that he thought about it, his heart was throbbing in pain. The scumbags in the Liaoting Network's drivers group were bragging about how they could pull beautiful girls to bed from time to time when they pulled for customers. Why was the old man young, handsome, humorous, and witty? He had been driving for more than half a year. How could he still get a 0? There was no reason. Oh, that's right. Those scumbags all drove BMWs. His Hyundai was borrowed. If a worker wanted to do a good job, he must first sharpen his tools. When will I be able to be like everyone else, driving a Panamera and paging a car on the internet? With a trace of melancholy and a trace of resentment, Chen Guang started the car and prepared to go back to school. How could he have known that someone had driven him to the brink of collapse during this entire day? That's right, that person was Wu Tong. The dignified Wenqing branch's domineering police beauty, Wu Tong, who had beaten everyone in Wujing City's police force, had actually been defeated by a third-year boy. How could she tolerate this? Last night, she had inexplicably become infatuated with him. That was a huge grudge. Not being able to lock him up for 15 days was the second biggest grudge. In addition, she had been away from home for almost 3 months. She had been living frugally. Even her skincare products had been bought from the sparrow antelope. The 10,000 yuan that she had saved with great difficulty had all been used up. How dare you go back on your words? You even made up some nonsense about Shenangjia? This was the third biggest grudge. Shenangjia, right? Cave, right? Savage, right? Aren't you just in Wujing City? I'll beat you until you turn into a savage. Wu Tong was furious because of the additional enmity. After using a lot of connections, she finally obtained the online monitoring rights of Chen Guang's phone. Then, she took half a day off from the police station and drove off with her teeth clenched. When it came to using connections, once a precedent was set, it was like a crack in a dam. It would not be easy to stop it. With the anger of a girl who had been hurt by love and the persistence of a creditor, Wu Tong today was even fiercer than a tigress. She was probably at the level of Wu Song, who had killed a tiger. Chen Guang's location would be sent to her phone every 10 minutes. Usually, this was a technical method used to deal with a heavyweight fugitive suspect. It was not easy for Wu Tong to get it. When she first received his location, Chen Guang was still in Gokyo University. Wu Tong thought it would be a piece of cake to catch him, but she did not expect that this was just the beginning of her nightmare. 10 minutes later, when she drove to the entrance of Gokyo University, Chen Guang had already run to Daijian Road outside Wenqing town. Another 10 minutes later, Wu Tong finally reached Daijian Road, but Chen Guang had already entered Wujing City's third ring road. Ah! I'm going to strangle you to death, you bastard! Wu Tong roared as she started the car and continued to chase after him. An hour later, Wu Tong began to doubt her life. She even called the Municipal Bureau's information department and questioned their professionalism. She even suspected that her connections were not good enough, and she was deliberately tricked by the information department. Otherwise, how could she explain why he appeared in a completely different location every time? The people from the information department repeatedly said that there was no problem with the location system. Since they had agreed to this, they would not deliberately trick you. They guaranteed that the location data they provided was not false. For this to happen, it could only mean that the other party was indeed in constant motion. Wu Tong felt that her whole body was not good. Are you a perpetual motion machine or something? Once you stop, your heart will stop beating? Will you die? Another 2 hours passed, and Wu Tong's car ran out of gas, and the engine stalled halfway. She stopped the car by the side of the road, her face ashen and covered in dust. For the whole day, Wu Tong was so afraid of losing him that she did not even notice the warning light of the fuel tank. Great, now it actually stopped. It was just tracking a student. Why was it more difficult than tracking an international criminal? You bastard, even if you knew I was going to chase you for a debt, you didn't have to run from the south of the city to the east of the city, then from the east to the west, then from the west to the north of the city around the second ring road, then directly to the newly built East Railway Station, and then you. I can't take it anymore. You're just a student, but your anti-tracking ability is out of this world. I choose to die. In the end, Wu Tong had no choice but to call Wang Long for help and get him to send a barrel of oil over. In the process, she even tearfully complained about Chen Guang's wandering around the entire day and expressed her doubts about his identity as a student. There was no reason for a normal student to run so many places in a day. This guy must be a spy from the enemy country. I have to catch him and interrogate him. Wang Long only used one sentence to make Wu Tong speechless. Wang Long said, since he's a student, he'll have to go back to school sooner or later. Why are you chasing him all over the city? He can't just not stop for the rest of his life, can he? Wu Tong wanted to strangle herself. Chapter 68. At 10:30 at night, Chen Guang drove leisurely back to school, summarizing his gains and losses for the day in his heart. From time to time, he would recite the golden rule of doing business, or else he would wail like a ghost and howl like a wolf. In order to deal with the elusive Emperor of the Azure and the heavenly Holy Grail, Chen Guang was really tired. He felt extremely helpless about this. As the owner of a Goldfinger, he did not feel the thrill of being able to save the world and dominate the world by lying down. This simple life was more tiring than being a villain, and he could not even relax his mind. If he was not careful, he would fall into a trap. Wu Tong parked her car outside Gokyo University and stared at the intersection. If one wanted to drive into Gokyo University from the outside, this intersection was the only way. She planned to block people here. However, there was something that she was particularly concerned about. It seemed that she was not the only one who had this plan. On the other side of the intersection, there were two vans parked in the forest beside the road. From time to time, there were people peeking at the intersection from that direction. With Wu Tong's professional eyes, she could tell at a glance that this group of people was a little sneaky. She did not take it seriously. If they were really planning to do something illegal, she could make a contribution today. The Wenxing branch was only a few minutes' drive away from here. If the situation was not good, she could send out an internal distress signal, and her colleagues would be able to arrive in 10 minutes at the latest. The other party had obviously seen Wu Tong, but they did not take her seriously. At this time, Wu Tong was wearing casual clothes and driving her own private off-road vehicle instead of a police car. No matter how one looked at her, no one would think that she was a police officer. They would only think that she was a delicate beauty. Wu Tong's phone rang. She picked it up and looked at it. She immediately sat up straight, and her expression became more focused. The GPS showed that Chen Guang's current location was less than 5 minutes' drive away from here. About 20 minutes ago, he began to approach the direction of Gokyo University from the city. He was going back to school. Wu Tong began to observe the situation at the intersection. At the same time, she was also thinking about how to safely stop Chen Guang later. After all, the purpose of her visit this time was to beat up Chen Guang and turn him into a savage. Otherwise, Wu Tong would directly go to school and wait for him. It's better to beat people up outside the school. Although I'm a public servant, I still have to pay attention to my image. Lights shone from the intersection from afar. Calculating the time, it was about time for Chen Guang's car to arrive. Wu Tong had already opened the door and got out of the car. She was about to reach out her hand to stop the car. At this moment, the group of people on the other side of the intersection suddenly became active. A person was talking on the phone while getting out of the car and shouting something. Two people who were originally standing on the side of the road heard the person shouting and suddenly grabbed two palm-sized rocks from the roadside. Wu Tong's heart went cold. Could it be that these people were also here to stop Chen Guang? Not only did they have people guarding here, but they also had spies at the intersection ahead? They came prepared. Wu Tong couldn't hear what the people on the other side were shouting. The only thing she could be sure of was that this group of people was really here to stop Chen Guang. At this moment, the lights on the other side became brighter and brighter. Chen Guang's car was coming. Chen Guang didn't know that there was a group of people waiting for him in front of him. As usual, when he turned the corner, he slightly braked, slowed down, and prepared to turn right. This place had a speed limit of 40 kilometers per hour. There was a huge pit, and there was a surveillance camera just around the corner. If one wasn't an experienced driver, it would be very easy to be tricked here. Every time he passed by this place, old driver Chen would feel very accomplished. He would look up proudly and look at the surveillance camera with a rather disdainful gaze. Trying to trick me? No way. However, things were a little different today. Two people suddenly ran over from the opposite side of the road. It was very sudden and strange. Behind these two people were about 12 or 13 people, and they were very aggressive. When he took a closer look, he saw that the two people running at the front had their right hands raised flat on their shoulders, and in their palms, they were holding a big orange rock. The other party was clearly coming for him. F***CK. Just as Chen Guang cursed, the two people made their move. With a wave of their hands, the rock in their hands flew out, heading towards his front windshield. Although he didn't know where the other party came from, he could only take it. He slammed on the brakes. Before the car came to a stop, one of the two rocks had already hit the front windshield. Bang! Even tempered glass could not withstand such a powerful rock, let alone a direct hit. The glass cracked and caved in. Cracks like a spider web spread from the top of the glass to the bottom, from the left to the right, accompanied by the creaking sound of ice breaking. The shape of the cracks was regular, like a meticulously carved work of art. If this wasn't his car, Chen Guang would definitely sigh in his heart. This F***King rock was thrown with such a high standard. It was the reincarnation of Van Gogh. The other rock hit the hood of the car with a loud bang and left a large dent. That wasn't the end. After the two people threw the rock, they moved to the side. From the group of people behind them, more than 10 eggs flew over. Even if these people didn't throw very accurately, only 3 eggs hit the front windshield. The egg whites and yolks almost blocked the driver's vision. It was useless to use the windshield wiper. It would only make the wiper more messy. The other party acted quickly and premeditatedly. They didn't want him to drive away. The car finally came to a dead stop. Half of the car was pressed against the roadside. Chen Guang's heart ached for the big dent on his windshield and hood as he opened the door and got out. The other party had a lot of people, and they were coming at him aggressively. The car's vision was completely blocked, and he couldn't drive anymore. Of course, he had to get out of the car as soon as possible. He couldn't let himself be trapped in the car. He reached into his pocket and took out his baton. With a bang, the baton was pulled straight. Chen Guang stood in front of the car with the baton. "Tell me, who are you people? What do you want from me? Draw a line." As he spoke, Chen Guang was also sizing up the other party's clothes and behavior. His left hand was still in his pocket. It looked like he was pretending, but he was actually calling the police. There were about 14 people on the other side. Some of them had machetes in their hands, while others had iron rods. Some of them had dyed their hair, while others had shaved their heads. Some of them had tattoos on their shoulders, while others had tattoos that covered half of their faces. Most of them were wearing black vests, and the two walking at the back were wearing shirts. Basically, as long as one wasn't stupid, they could tell that these people weren't decent people. Maybe they were gangsters or something. Compared to this group of people, Chen Guang felt that Wu Tong was actually quite cute. As his imagination ran wild, he looked at his car and felt pain in his heart. The front windshield was 800, and the dent on the hood was at least 700 to 800. That was another 1,000 yuan gone. Annoying. What are you doing? Stop. At this moment, a strong figure moved from an off-road vehicle about 50 meters in front of them. She dashed over and shouted. Chen Guang's heart skipped a beat. "Ah. I haven't even made the call yet, and you're already here. Are you Chow Chow?" "That's right, it's Wu Tong." Things happened too fast, and the group of people acted too decisively. Wu Tong didn't even have time to stop them before Chen Guang's car was violently intercepted. But she absolutely wouldn't allow the two sides to fight in front of her. "Do you think I don't exist?" Chapter 69. Seeing Wu Tong yelling and running closer and closer, Chen Guang felt rather conflicted. On the one hand, he was afraid of this creditor. As a man in debt, when he saw his creditor, he basically felt like a mouse seeing a cat, naturally inferior. On the other hand, he considered her identity. After all, she was a police officer. She came so quickly, and if she kept an eye on him, it wouldn't be good for him to hit her too hard. If he hit her in front of her, the scene would be too bloody and violent, and he would seriously injure her. This woman could change from a comrade to an enemy at any time. It was unreasonable for her to put him in jail for 15 days at any time. Today wasn't like yesterday. Last night, she was controlled by her emotions once and turned Luli into a hot girl in a bikini. If it happened again, the dignified empress would probably be naked. Even if Chen Guang agreed to it, Luli wouldn't agree to it. However, the other party had a lot of people after all. If he didn't hit her hard, if he really took a knife, he would be in serious trouble. Why don't you show your police officer badge, or you can take out your gun to scare them? Zhao Yu thought. Or should I abandon the car and run away first? How about I leave this big scene to you, a public servant of the people? Chen Guang had this idea. If it wasn't Wu Tong but some other male police officer, he wouldn't hesitate to run away. But looking at the dozen or so people on the other side, he thought that if he ran away, with Wu Tong's temperament, she would definitely fight them head-on. If she really didn't bring a gun and fell into the hands of such a group of gangsters and bandits, she might be in big trouble. Before she became a police officer, she was even more of a delicate woman. God knows what would happen in the end. After all, the other party had come for her, and she would also suffer an undeserved disaster. Chen Guang prided himself on being a man. He couldn't do such a despicable thing. Well, it seemed that he was going to fight alongside her today. Little girl? You like to meddle in other people's business? It's none of your business here. You'd better get lost. Otherwise, after we cripple this brat, we don't mind dragging you back to have some fun. We have more than 10 people here, I'm afraid you won't be able to handle it. The one who spoke was one of the two men in shirts. He had short hair and a long scar on his face that stretched from the corner of his eye to his chin. His expression was ferocious. His entire face was raised, and the tip of his chin was at a 45-degree angle. As he opened his mouth to speak, the scar on his face stretched diagonally, looking longer than it actually was. As he opened and closed his mouth, it squirmed like a caterpillar, looking particularly eerie and terrifying. This was Brother Knife Scar's signature provocative pose after roaming the Jianghu for many years. It was extremely domineering. Needless to say, everyone in the underworld knew that when Brother Scar made such a gesture, it meant that he was about to flip out and someone was going to be unlucky. The other man in the shirt also took a step forward and stood side by side with Brother Scar. He was the one who had made the phone call when they were fighting. People in Jianghu called him Glasses Wu. Together with Brother Scar, they were big brothers in the area around Gokyo University. Brother Scar was in charge of punching and kicking, while Glasses Wu was in charge of scheming. The two of them cooperated with each other, and in the past 2 years, they had been doing very well. Little girl, as a person, it's most important to be happy. You have a sense of justice, but you also have to see what you can get involved in and what you can't. Look at you, you look like a lady from a wealthy family. At such a young age, you can drive a Wrangler that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Your family must be rich, right? The young miss of a rich family was very precious. Don't get involved in our trivial matters. Today, I, your brother, make the decision. You leave immediately, and we'll pretend that we didn't hear or see anything. You're not a police officer, so why do you care so much? Glasses Wu was indeed different. His words were very pleasant to listen to. If it wasn't Wu Tong here today, she would have been persuaded by him. Unfortunately, Wu Tong was really a police officer. Moreover, she was a police officer with a strong sense of justice. Wu Tong had only been in the Wenxing town branch for less than 3 months. Brother Scar and Eyeglasses Wu often visited each other at the dock, so they knew every single person in the Wenxing town branch like the back of their hands. However, Wu Tong was a newcomer, so they didn't recognize her. Then I'm really sorry. Wu Tong's face turned serious. She was already standing next to Chen Guang, who was holding a baton. She coldly looked at Brother Scar and the others. You don't say. I don't care what you say today. This matter, I'm going to take care of it today. Oh. I gave you face, but you don't want it? Do you really think we're made of mud? I've been paid to get rid of this disaster. Today, I'm going to cut off this brat Chen Guang's shoulders and break his balls. Since you don't know what's good for you and want to interfere, then I'll chop off your legs too. Brother Scar was never a kind person. Seeing Wu Tong didn't know what's good for her, he waved his hand and ordered his men to step forward. Chen Guang popped his head out from Wu Tong's side. Wu, brat, this is none of your business. Scram. Everything is clear. In broad daylight. You actually dare to hire a hitman to hurt someone right under my nose. I can't tolerate this. Before Chen Guang could finish his words, Wu Tong's blood boiled and boiled. It's night time now. Chen Guang quietly said. Wu Tong rolled her eyes. Ai. These people are here to cause trouble for you. I'm here to help you. Can you not ridicule me and ruin my momentum at this time? Are you friend or foe? You still have the mood to ridicule? Go. Beat that Chin guy up first. I'll take care of that girl alone. Brother Scar walked forward while cracking his knuckles. The muscles on his shoulders bounced up and down, full of vigor. The other lackeys who had rushed to the front rushed forward, especially the two men in tank tops who had thrown stones at the car. They were clearly the ones in charge of the group. One of them wielded a machete while the other held a steel baseball bat and rushed forward. Chen Guang knew that things couldn't go well. His right hand grabbed the baseball bat and planned to pass by Wu Tong to stand in front. It was easy to deal with the others, but these two were the ones who damaged his car the most. It was a life and death feud. Just as he took a step forward, Wu Tong, who was beside him, shouted in surprise, Yo! You're not bad, kid. You have a controlled knife with you? Give it to me to use. Just as Wu Tong said that, Chen Guang's armpit was attacked from behind. Under the pain, he loosened his grip on the baseball bat, and the weapon was taken by Wu Tong. It's hard to defend against a teammate. Chen Guang never thought that Wu Tong, as a teammate, would try to take the weapon in his hand. She really did it. In the next second, Wu Tong had already started fighting with the two people in front. Her title as the female overlord of Wu Jing City's police force wasn't just for show. With two clang-clang sounds, Wu Tong, one on the left and one on the right, knocked the items out of the hands of the two men in front of her. Then, with two lightning-fast flying kicks, one aimed at the abdomen, the other at the side of the head. The two men screamed and fell to the side. They finally started fighting. Without the weapon in his hand, Chen Guang couldn't be afraid. I'm the second officer of the N Royal. I'll go too. Why would I be afraid of you small fries? Let me lend you a hand. As he shouted, Chen Guang thought of the lines that he often saw on TV when generals fought. The third side general would often shout out the lines, and his tone was even deliberately imitating the tone of his lines. What was a professional actor? This was a professional. He wouldn't give the heavenly Holy Grail any chance. Chapter 70. Get out of the way. Chen Guang had just rushed to Wu Tong's side when Wu Tong shouted and used her other hand to block him behind her. Her other hand was holding the baton in front of her. This woman was really not weak. Even though she was fighting against many, she was still able to wield the baton like a tiger and was actually able to gain the upper hand. Wu Tong had her own reasons for snatching the blade from Chen Guang. She thought that Chen Guang was a hothead who didn't know how to control his strength. Snatching his weapon was also to protect him. She was afraid that Chen Guang would smash someone to death with his baton. As for Wu Tong, she relied on the fact that she had received professional training and was an expert in kickboxing. Although she seemed to be swinging her stick like a madman, in reality, she only aimed at non-vital areas such as shoulders, arms, and legs. Even if she hit them, she would at most break a bone. This sister is a public servant and dealing with these people is just carrying out her duties. It doesn't matter if I injure them. It was also because she didn't have a gun on her, otherwise Wu Tong would have directly pulled out her gun to scare them. On the other side, Chen Guang was in a difficult situation. He had originally planned to use the many killing moves that he had learned in the Sea of Transient to give these people a quick death. He never thought that he would be constantly interrupted by Wu Tong. Move aside, Chen Guang anxiously said. Waving her right hand, Wu Tong knocked another person down before she rammed her left shoulder into Chen Guang, causing him to stagger. Get up. Don't obstruct official business. Chen Guang then noticed that in just a short 10 seconds, Wu Tong had already knocked down 4 people. Female hero. Why are you so strong? He didn't know if it was because the quality of his baton was too good or if it was because this woman's strength was too heavy, but those who were hit by her were all holding their injuries and groaning on the ground. The situation changed too quickly and caught everyone off guard. Brother Scar, who was experienced and knowledgeable, finally realized something. This woman looked delicate, but her technique was not ordinary. She was not simply trained, but a true professional. His own little brother had been beaten up like a chicken or a dog. Brother Scar also felt that his face had lost face. Knife Scar, wait. Eyeglasses Wu was about to say something. Brother Scar howled and rushed forward. When the eldest brother appeared, his aura was naturally different from that of the younger brother. He strode forward and took out 2 nunchakus from behind him. He had been immersed in this path for many years. The 2 nunchakus made of pure stainless steel danced like silver dragons coming out of their caves, sweeping away the clouds. Moving to Wu Tong's side, Brother Scar struck out with his dual rods. With 2 clanging sounds, Wu Tong's originally unstoppable rod finally met its match and was hit to the side. Wu Tong was powerful, but Brother Knife Scar was able to get to the top position in Wenxing Town at such a young age, and it wasn't an undeserved reputation. Finally, someone who could fight came. Wu Tong was in high spirits and shouted, "Come on. Interesting. Awesome." Again. Watching from the side, Chen Guang could only watch helplessly as he exclaimed, "You took away my stuff. You're having a good time. But you should at least think about me. Kid, you run first. Don't worry about your car. After I take care of these people, they'll pay for it." Wu Tong finally reacted and almost forgot about the main character of the day. But she was fighting fiercely with Brother Scar and couldn't get away. She said this without turning her head. When experts fought, the scene was extremely dangerous. The others couldn't get close, or else they might be accidentally injured. Chen Guang didn't want to leave at first, but Wu Tong was gradually gaining the upper hand in the fight with Brother Scar. Chen Guang felt that he didn't have any weapons, so he couldn't help much even if he went up. If he continued to stay here, if he could hit hard, even if he got injured, he might be able to take care of the other small fries with his bare hands. But he had to be wary of Wu Tong's identity as a police officer. He didn't have any weapons, and he couldn't hit hard. The other side had knives, guns, and clubs. Since that was the case, it was better to make a strategic retreat and change to a spectator mode. If the situation turned bad, then he would make a plan. But now it seemed that even if Wu Tong was alone, with the sharpness of the club and her skills, she might really be able to take care of these people. Chen Guang was happy. "Well, since you're so confident, and you look so majestic." The old man's body was slightly unwell, so he had to go first. He was also quick to see the opportunity. The other people saw that they couldn't get involved in the fight between Brother Scar and Wu Tong, so they turned around and came to him. "Officer Wu, you cover the back. I'll take my leave first." Chen Guang hollered before he turned around and fled. The meticulous eyeglasses Wu had already stealthily brought 2 people behind him. He couldn't stop Brother Scar from attacking, so he could only take care of this side for the time being. He smiled sinisterly and said, "Little bastard, you want to run? That easy?" "Wait. What did he just say? Officer Wu?" Why did the last two words sound familiar? Officer? Okay. Chen Guang, remember to come to the station and pay the fine yourself. Today, I helped you take care of the matter. On the other side, Wu Tong still had the time to talk to Chen Guang while fighting with Scarface. She seemed to be in a relaxed mood. While Eyeglasses Wu was absent-minded, Chen Guang had already run out. From now on, he was free to fly in the sky, and free to swim in the sea. Officer Wu Tong. Thank you for your kindness. If you die in the line of duty, I'll be there for your funeral. Although he said so, Chen Guang didn't really run away, but stopped after 2 steps. He looked back and was ready to save her at any time. On the other side, Eyeglasses Wu shouted, Scar, stop. The woman in front of you is a police officer. Stop right now. These so-called gray forces were more or less jumping around in front of ordinary people. Recently, there were all kinds of rectification and all kinds of evildoers. How would these small fries dare to wave their swords and guns at the police? They couldn't hide when they saw them. If they really couldn't hide, they would nod and bow, hand cigarettes, and so on. They even had to pat their chests and promise that they had been doing small businesses, such as opening a game hall or a small internet cafe. Eyeglasses Wu already felt that the woman was very professional, and now that he confirmed that she was a police officer, he couldn't care less about Brother Scar's fierce fight and shouted. When Brother Scar heard this, his heart skipped a beat. His hand trembled, and the nunchaku that was sweeping stopped halfway. What? What did you say? Police? Oh my God. He did intend to stop, so he stopped the nunchaku that was flying halfway. But in the end? His hand stopped, but the nunchaku didn't. The nunchaku flew out of his hand, and hit Wu Tong's head. Thump. Aya. Wu Tong's crazy movements came to an abrupt stop, and she glared at Brother Scar for about 3 seconds before cursing, "You cheated." Then, there was nothing else. Wu Tong's eyes turned black, and she fainted. She fell to the ground like a dead pig. On the other side, Chen Guang's face darkened. My sister, you're not playing by the rules. Weren't you acting almighty just now? The others had already given up and let go of their weapons. Why did you use your head to receive this blow? Aren't you making it impossible for them to surrender? Chapter 71. He couldn't care less and rushed into the crowd again. F***CK. You guys really dare to do this? Do you know who this is? That guy on TV 2 days ago? That's right, isn't there a department head in Sichuan province with the surname Wu? I think he's called Wu Shan. This is his daughter, Wu Tong. Of course, it wasn't because Chen Guang had sharp eyes and saw through Wu Tong's real identity. He was purely trying to scare these people by suddenly thinking of an official on TV. He didn't know that he was right. He really lived up to his teeth. But now, Scarface and Eyeglasses Wu were completely dumbfounded. Surname Wu? Wrangler? Young and good at fighting? Temper like a spoiled young lady? Police? Eyeglasses Wu's face turned pale. Could it be, no. Could it be her? You guys better think about how to deal with this. Don't think about killing us. It's just an injury. If you guys are really stupid, I'll find her even if I have to dig 3 feet into the ground. At this moment, Chen Guang had already rushed to Wu Tong's side and stood in front of her. At the same time, he inwardly spat. Did I really think that you're an expert? If I knew that you're so weak, I wouldn't have let you go alone. At this time, Eyeglasses Wu and Scarface felt wronged. I'm going to pull back. But I didn't expect the nunchaku to fall out of my hand. She's obviously very capable. How did I get hit by a fluke? How can I endure the fate of making fools of me? Scarface had a headache. He didn't know what to do. He looked at Eyeglasses Wu, hoping that he would make a decision. So here's the problem. Originally, they just took 100,000 yuan from Pan Yu to find trouble with a student. They just needed to beat the student up to Pan Yu's request. Scarface and Eyeglasses Wu were familiar with this kind of business. If they said they would beat the student up to 0.75, they would never beat the student up to 0.76. Although 100,000 yuan wasn't a lot, it wasn't a small amount either. The matter wasn't complicated either. If it was done well, they could also get on Pan Yu's good side. In the future, they might be able to cooperate with Pan Yu's company. This was supposed to be a happy thing, but in the actual process, there was an accident, and the situation was very serious. He had taken down a police officer, and he was a second-generation police officer with an official background. Facing such a situation, what should he do? Eyeglasses Wu was indeed a genius. It only took him 5 seconds to come up with a decision. He tugged at Brother Scar's sleeve, turned his head, aimed in a direction, and shouted, "Run!" Of the 36 stratagems, retreat is the best stratagem. Although there was a surveillance camera at the corner of the road, the direction that Glasses Wu took the lead in was the blind spot of the surveillance camera. He didn't know how badly injured the policewoman was. Anyway, it was better to run first. Later on, she would refuse to admit it, or try her best to make up for it. If she had to pay, she would pay. If she had to run, she would run. It was definitely not a good idea to stay here and be caught red-handed. The few people who were knocked to the ground earlier also recovered one after another. The others who could still move also supported each other and prepared to escape. Trying to run after acting tough? Qin Guang didn't agree. He took the baton from the unconscious Wu Tong and sprinted forward. In a few steps, he stood in front of Glasses Wu and Brother Scar. "Brat, we came for you today. Now that there's an accident, we're in a hurry to leave, but you still came to us to court death? Do you believe that I only need 5 seconds to take care of you? It won't take too much time." Brother Scar laughed sinisterly, raised his baton and pounced forward. It was a bit painful to accidentally hurt the policewoman. If he just ran away like this, he would indeed suffer a double loss. If he could take care of this brat before he left, he could at least protect his wife. Seeing him coming aggressively, Qin Guang grinned. "Is that so? 5 seconds? You don't have a lot of work to do?" Although Brother Scar was very powerful, Qin Guang wasn't bad either. The killing techniques that Qin Guang learned in the Sea of Time were also time-tested. He might not be able to win, but he wouldn't be easily defeated. Moreover, he just wanted to stall these people. As early as when Wu Tong came over, Qin Guang quietly called Yao Yao Ling. He still hadn't hung up the phone and it was still connected. If the people in the Wenqing branch weren't idiots, it wouldn't take long for them to arrive. "Oh. You're quite stubborn, huh? But you're just a *T university student. No matter how hard your mouth is, it can't be used as a fist. Grandpa, I will teach you the principles of an adult in society." Brother Scar swung the baton in his right hand horizontally. The tip of the baton went straight for Qin Guang's shoulder. His left hand swung up and went straight for Qin Guang's chin. Seeing the opportunity, Qin Guang abruptly took a step back and avoided the range of the nunchaku. At the same time, he swung the nunchaku in his hand towards Scarface's nunchaku. He first knocked away the nunchaku in his right hand before swinging it towards the nunchaku in his left hand. The two batons collided. The strength in Brother Scar's left hand was slightly weaker, so the baton turned around and was about to hit his face. Brother Scar quickly put away his thoughts of underestimating his enemy. He raised his neck and raised his left hand slightly. The baton that was spinning at high speed was swung across the bridge of his nose. He broke out in a cold sweat. He took a few steps back and stared at Qin Guang. His eyes no longer had the slightest bit of insolence from before. All that was left was 100% fear. "Brat, you have some skills, huh? Just what kind of underworld are you in?" Brother Scar asked. Qin Guang swung the baton to his side, blocking Wu Jing and the others who wanted to slip away. He laughed and said, "Aren't you very clear? Since Pan Jiang asked you guys to deal with me, he wouldn't not tell you guys anything, right? Aren't I a student of this Gokyo University? I guarantee it." Brother Scar frowned again. In his heart, he only believed less than 30% of Chen Guang's words. He was indeed a university student. But from the short exchange between the two of them, this person's skills were not bad. Perhaps he was on the same level as the policewoman who was knocked out by accident. However, although the policewoman's skills were skilled, she was somewhat immature. Although her fighting skills were exquisite, she lacked experience. She lacked a layer of experience and ruthlessness. But this Chen Guang was completely different. Although he looked unorthodox, his moves were extremely ruthless. In the short exchange, he gave off a feeling that he was in a life and death situation. This seemingly laughing and joking university student, once he got serious, he actually had a murderous aura that was rarely seen in the underworld. This kind of murderous aura wasn't something mystical. Instead, it was a kind of psychological pressure that came from a person whose hands were truly stained with human lives. When he fought with others, it was the kind of disregard for his opponent's life that formed a psychological pressure. This was something that could really be felt. This guy was a hidden expert. That silly look just now was just an act to fool people, wasn't it? Brother Scar's guess wasn't wrong. Ever since he left the transient sea, Chen Guang had spent a lot of effort to change his temperament that he had developed on the En Royal. Previously, when he fought with people in school, he only got a little serious with Kim Jongpan. Unfortunately, that Taekwondo expert was just an empty shell. He was defeated in one move, so he wasn't able to fight to his heart's content. Later on, he met second Uncle Wen. That old man was so strong that he couldn't be reasoned with. When I was fighting with you, you pulled out some internal energy to cheat. I don't even know what that is. Everyone's level wasn't even on the same level. There was no way to play or have a pleasant conversation. Today, he met Brother Scar, this so-called underworld person. The other party was hired to cause trouble. Chen Guang had long wanted to take the opportunity to fight to his heart's content. Chapter 72. Unfortunately, this was the real world, not the world in a cup created by the heavenly Holy Grail, where it couldn't easily take someone's life. Otherwise, Chen Guang would have at least 3 ways to kill Brother Scar on the spot. He was someone who had died 95 times. If they were to fight to the death and both parties were of similar skill levels, they could trade injury for injury and life for life. Chen Guang had a wealth of experience trading 1 for 1, so unless he was courting death, he would definitely win. Killing the other party was actually much easier than beating him fair and square. Chen Guang was indeed struggling to control his thoughts of killing the other party. He was a little tired. That Pan guy found us such a powerful opponent, but he only gave us 100,000 yuan. That's not fair at all. We've been scammed. Eyeglasses Wu said with an ugly expression. Brother Scar nodded. Logically speaking, that's true. But since we've already accepted the job, whether we make a profit or lose is a matter of the future. Right now, he's not letting us go. Chen Guang's face darkened. That's right. None of you can leave today. Because, look over there. There's a surprise. Following the direction Chen Guang was pointing at, 3 police cars were speeding over, sirens blaring and lights flashing. Bureau Chief Ding had just figured out Wu Tong's background last night, and such a thing had happened today. How could he let it go? First, Wu Tong's internal communication device sent a distress signal, followed by Chen Guang's live broadcast of the police station. Chief Ding happened to be the leader on duty at the station tonight, and when he heard the news, he almost pissed his pants. It was like poking a hornet's nest, and the entire station exploded. From the time the signal was received to the time all the officers were dispatched, not even a minute had passed. Weren't they already here? They had practically broken the record for the fastest dispatch of the Wenqing station. Seeing that these people were so scared that their legs turned to jelly, Chen Guang struck while the iron was hot. Alright, I advise you guys not to run. If nothing happens to Wu Tong, then today's incident isn't too important. You guys can just hand over the person behind the contract and deal with him accordingly. If Wu Tong is seriously injured, where can you run to? How about this? She was looking for me for something today. She's an acquaintance. Old man, I still have some say in front of Wu Tong. Now that my car has been smashed by you, if you can properly compensate me for the money you owe me, I'll be happy and put in a good word for you later. Then things can be a little better. What do you think? Brother Scar hung his head in resentment. There was really no way to run. Eyeglasses Wu, who was at the side, tactfully came forward. Fine, we brothers admit defeat today. At the end of the day, the fault lies with Pan Dehai, the vice president of Tongyun Construction Company. He was the one who paid us to stop you. He only said that you're a university student and didn't say anything else. We were unlucky to bump into this policewoman. We didn't know how powerful you were. We'll admit defeat. Chen Guang waved his hand impatiently. I don't need you to tell me who asked you to come here. You can go back and tell the police about this. Take out the money. Take out as much as you have on you. Hurry up. The police cars were about to arrive. Strictly speaking, it would only cost around 1,000 RMB to fix the car. If they didn't take this opportunity to extort money, they wouldn't have another chance later. Eyeglasses Wu was also a smart person. He quickly shouted. Quick! Everyone, give us your money. Give us as much as you have. Sometimes, small fries like Brother Scar and Eyeglasses Wu were quite pitiful. In front of the other hooligans in town, he looked impressive, but when it came to the people and matters in the police station, he looked like a desolate and helpless citizen. In less than half a minute, these people deftly emptied their pockets, and a bunch of brightly colored banknotes appeared in Eyeglasses Wu's hands. Chen Guang scooped it up and stuffed it into his pocket. It was bulging like a fatty that had eaten too much, and it was filled to the brim. Right at this moment, the 3 police cars screeched to a stop beside them. The sirens were so loud that it made them dizzy. It's them. Don't let any of them get away. All of a sudden, a roar resounded from behind them, startling Chen Guang, who was counting the money in his pocket. Big sister, you're awake already? Is the siren your alarm clock or something? Wu Tong covered her temples with her hands and slowly stood up from the ground. She looked at Brother Scar with hatred in her eyes. She looked as if she wanted to skin him alive. Despicable scum. How dare you plot against me? Wu Tong slowly walked over and said fiercely. Hey! It was clearly you who knocked yourself out, big sister. We're just innocent people of the martial arts world who got implicated. Brother Scar and Eyeglasses Wu had tears on their faces. On the other side, Wang Long and a few others had already gotten out of the car. Wang Long and another policewoman moved to Wu Tong's side to take care of her. The other 7 or 8 people were fully armed as they closed in on Brother Scar's group. Chief Ding rushed to the front. He had already pulled out his gun. The black muzzle was pointed at Brother Scar's head. He roared. Get down. All of you F*King get down. Whoever dares to move, I'll shoot him. The chief took the lead and pulled out his gun. The others naturally followed. It wasn't the first time that Brother Scar had dealt with the people from the Wenqing branch. He was also a familiar face in front of Chief Ding, so he had never seen Chief Ding like this. With a bitter face, he said, Chief Ding, it's me, it's me. Don't. Who the F***ck is familiar with you? Get down. Chief Ding rubbed his fat body. He rushed up and kicked Brother Scar's waist. Then, he professionally took half a step back and pointed his gun at Brother Scar. Get down. Quick. Brother Scar squatted down. He really didn't dare to resist. Even Chen Guang, who had just made a small fortune, almost suffered a calamity. Fortunately, the police officer who came to arrest him was also on duty last night. He had personally witnessed the ambiguous relationship between Chen Guang and Wu Tong. Yo, he's one of us, one of us. Without waiting for Chen Guang to explain, this good brother helped him out. Chen Guang laughed. That's right, one of us. Today, I'm still a good Samaritan. Hee hee, brother-in-law, you really know how to joke. You helping our sister Tong is a matter of course. What Samaritan? F***ck. Bro, your ability to hit a snake with a stick is a little unreasonable. Who the F***ck is your brother-in-law? Don't tell me you didn't realize that the sister Tong you were talking about was already standing behind you. She was waving her hand and preparing to give you a surprise attack. Big mouth ma, get lost. This isn't your brother-in-law. Chen Guang, today I've been implicated because of you. Hand it over. Wu Tong covered her head with one hand and spread out her other hand in front of Chen Guang, rubbing her fingers. Chapter 73. Chen Guang was confused. Huh? You're still acting, aren't you? Do you believe that I will send you in for another 48 hours to assist in the investigation? Wu Tong gritted her teeth. She had the urge to chop someone up when she thought of what happened today. She followed this idiot around the city in the afternoon. Not only was she exhausted, but she also felt that she was as stupid as a pig. It was not easy for her to stop him here, but she became his shield and helped him avoid a disaster. Otherwise, who knows how badly this guy would have been beaten up. I'm a good person, giving warmth to the community. Wu Tong did not know that after she fainted, not only did Chen Guang stop Brother Scar and his men, but he also extorted a sum of money from them. She only thought that her colleagues came to her rescue in time. After all, she did wake up when she heard the sirens. When she opened her eyes, she saw her colleagues jumping out of their cars, and Chen Guang was surrounded by them with an innocent look. The more Wu Tong thought about it, the more she felt wronged. She could not accept it, and she could not die in peace. Chen Guang was stunned by her words. She could really send him in for 48 hours. Every second of my time is precious. How can I waste it in there? I can't fight back. Chen Guang grinned. Huh, I was just joking with you. This debt could not be denied. It's just that I only have my card with me. I don't have any cash. Chen Guang held onto his pocket and lied. Wu Tong looked as if she had seen through him. She took out her phone from her pocket. PayPal transfer. Don't tell me that you don't have a PayPal when you're a university student. Chen Guang continued to lie. I really don't have any. On the other side, Brother Scar and his men were all obediently waiting to be captured. Wang Long had nothing to do. He came over and took out something from his pocket. I have a Lakera phone card reader here. You can swipe your bank card directly. Damn it. Why are you police officers? Why don't you open a bank? This time, he really couldn't deny it. Chen Guang could only take out his bank card and swipe it for Wu Tong. However, as soon as she woke up, she was in the mood to settle the debt. The blow on her head just now didn't seem to matter, so she was relieved. That was right. Unreasonable Tong Tong would not be easily killed. According to the nature of television dramas, the amnesia buff would definitely be triggered after being hit in the head. Fortunately, this was not a television drama. Chief Ding came over and wanted Wu Tong to go to the hospital for a checkup. But Wu Tong felt embarrassed today, so she waved her hand. It's just a small injury. It's not a big deal. The case is more important. Chief Ding, you've worked hard. Please escort these suspects back first. I'll talk to Chen Guang for a bit before heading back to the station. Today, we must investigate this contract murder case thoroughly. Brother Scar, who was about to be escorted into the car, couldn't take it anymore. He quickly turned around and howled, "What do you mean by hiring a killer? Don't make such a big hat. It was just hurting people. Hurting people. Eyeglasses Wu raised her head and looked at the waning moon in the sky. She looked like she didn't want to know Brother Scar. Brother, can you be more straightforward? I think they don't need to interrogate you. They just used a little trick to scare you, and you'll confess everything? When the escort car and police cars gradually went away, Wang Long was left sitting in Wu Tong's Wrangler. Wu Tong looked at Chen Guang with a complicated expression. Chen Guang's heart thumped. Could it be that she still has feelings for him? I have to nip this scary bud in the bud. Are your injuries really okay? I was scared just now. Hey, why is it that the words coming out of my mouth and my heart are completely different? My heart doesn't want it, but my body is too honest. Wu Tong shook her head. It's not a big deal. I just happened to be hit in the temple. I didn't feel it when I recovered. That guy with a scar on his face is too shameless. He actually used a weapon to sneak attack me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have lost. Yeah, he's too shameless. I can roughly guess who hired someone to do this. Don't worry, I'll give you an explanation. This kind of behavior is challenging the bottom line of the law enforcers. If everyone takes revenge, what's the use of the law? Chen Guang nodded. Yeah. Let's uphold the dignity of the law. But Pan Zhang's father seems to be the vice president of some construction company. He's quite powerful. How do you know it's Pan Zhang's family? Wu Tong was shocked. Chen Guang covered his head. Sister, I got into Gokyo University fair and square. I scored more than 640 points in the college entrance examination. I'm not stupid. Can you not question my intelligence? That's true. Apart from that, Pan Zhang's attempted rape also needs to be explained to the female victim. We can settle these two matters together, Wu Tong said. Chen Guang was puzzled. Didn't you say that he didn't commit a crime? Now, you're... Wu Tong snorted. But I didn't say that I'll let him get away with it. Why should I explain to you what I do? Anyway, go back to your school and be a good student. I can at least guarantee that you won't be harassed by Pan Zhang's family anymore. Chen Guang was amused. That's great. Thanks a lot. Seeing that he was about to leave, Wu Tong looked at his car and suddenly remembered something. Oh yeah, let me ask you. Why are you driving around the city in broad daylight? Don't tell me. Wu Tong wanted to ask him if he noticed that she was following him. Scratching his head, Chen Guang waved his phone and replied, nothing much. My mom is sick and needs medication. It's tens of thousands of yuan a month. I usually work and study to earn some money. It's not easy for me to save up a little more than 10,000 yuan. Doesn't that mean I have to pay you a fine of 10,000 yuan? That's for my mom's medication. I have no choice but to make a few more trips to get the money as soon as possible. His words were half-truths. His motive was simple. Seeing that she was a good person and had taken his money, he would be happy if he could make her feel a little guilty. Wu Tong was stunned. You're on the internet, my liver hurts. My stomach hurts too. No wonder he had been wandering around the city all day. He was running the internet. How could I be so stupid? Oh no, my blood sugar is low and I'm feeling dizzy. Wu Tong's face was black as she laid on the Wrangler's passenger seat. However, she understood why Chen Guang was so determined to renege on his debt. It turned out that his family was in such a difficult situation. This was his mom's medication. Come to think of it, I was too much. A hateful person must have a pitiful side. Sigh. Wu Tong indeed felt guilty. When she looked at him again, she was much more pleasing to the eye. She thought to herself, a filial man can't be that bad, right? She stuck her head out of the window and said to Chen Guang, who was wiping the front windshield with a rag, how about I return the money to you first? Just take it as a loan. Chen Guang shook his head. It's okay. I'll figure it out myself later. Okay, then I'll go. Wu Tong waved at Chen Guang and gestured for Wang Long to drive. Wang Long whispered, "You like him, right?" Wu Tong rolled her eyes. "Pfft. He's just a kid. How can I like him?" "Stop joking. Yesterday, I must have gone crazy and taken the wrong medicine. I was going to beat him up today to vent my anger, but I ran into those ignorant hooligans and ruined my plan." Wang Long only smiled and didn't say anything. He thought to himself, even if Brother Scar and the others weren't around, she wouldn't have been able to do it. "Why don't you think about what you were like yesterday?" On the other hand, Wu Tong knew that the feeling from yesterday might be brief, but it left a deep impression on her. When she recalled it, her face would still turn red, and her heartbeat would quicken by 10% when she spoke to Chen Guang earlier. It wasn't much, but she was sure that it was faster than usual. She thought to herself, what the hell? How could I like this guy? There's no reason. Unfortunately, no matter how much she quibbled and denied it, she didn't say anything harsh to Chen Guang in the end, even though she had come with the intention of taking revenge. There was already a crack on the ice wall. When the wind blew, the crack would gradually grow and spread until the high wall collapsed. On the other side, Wu Tong and Wang Long returned to the Wenxing branch office. Chen Guang wiped the front windshield and drove the car to the auto repair shop near the school. It was much cheaper than the 4S shop, and he could also get insurance. He took a taxi back to school and weighed the money in his pocket. He estimated that there was a net profit of about 10,000. Not bad. Oh. I seem to have forgotten something. Is it to help those people plead for Wu Tong? Come on, it's already good enough that I didn't hit them when they were down. Plead for them? I'm not a saint. After tricking Brother Scar and the others, Chen Guang didn't have any psychological burden at all. He happily returned to the dormitory. He didn't know that Pan Zhang's family was in big trouble. Wu Tong was really angered by Pan Zhang's family. Chapter 74. Early the next morning, Chen Guang was woken up by his phone ringing. He opened his eyes in a daze and looked at the time. It was only 8:00 in the morning. He picked up the phone and impatiently said, "Who is it? If you have something to report to me, if not, get lost. I will kill you with a mouthful of salt soda. Go downstairs. Hurry up. I don't have time to waste with you. I'm waiting for you to assist in the investigation." Wu Tong's annoying voice came from the phone. At this moment, Chen Guang was speechless. He wondered if he had been possessed recently. "This policewoman, you're still haunting me, right? Don't you know you're very annoying? What's wrong with me? Big sister, don't you know you're annoying? Didn't I give you the money? Can we not contact each other in the future?" Chen Guang said what he thought. This time, Chen Guang was very honest. On the other side of the call, Wu Tong's face was so pale that water could be squeezed out. "I'll count to 3. If you still don't come down, I'll shout from below your dormitory." "Chen Guang, you heartless bastard. How can you not care after getting someone pregnant?" Chen Guang's drowsiness instantly disappeared. If she really did that, he would be on the front page of the school forum tomorrow. How could he raise his head in the future? Don't. I'll be right down." Rolling out of bed, he hurriedly comforted the phone. "That's more like it. I'm asking you to cooperate with the investigation, not asking for your life. Your classmate, Sun Xiaoxuan, is also here. Today, we will close the case of Pan Dehai and Pan Zhang's attempted rape. Isn't this helping you?" Wu Tong spat and then hung up the phone. Sun Xiaoxuan, who was at the side, opened his mouth and looked at her as if he saw a ghost. Wu Tong proudly raised her eyebrows at Sun Xiaoxuan. "What did you just say? You said he can't get up so early? I think it's quite simple. This man, as long as you find his weakness, it's very easy to deal with him. Sun Xiaoxuan, you're still young. You have to learn more." Sun Xiaoxuan turned his face away. He felt that it was a bit embarrassing to stand with this policewoman. At the same time, his heart was already on guard. It seems that I have another rival in love. 3 minutes later, Chen Guang went downstairs. Wu Tong couldn't stop laughing at the teacup in his hand. Don't you think it's shameful for a man to carry such a sissy cup all day long? Chen Guang was too lazy to bother with her. He turned his face away and smiled at Sun Xiaoxuan. In Guang's hospital, Pan Dehai was sitting next to Pan Zhang's bed. Night surgery was successful. His son's surgery. Sun, Wang, Hai, Wang, Cheng, Wang, Sun, Guer, I, Wang, up, 102, letting these two, I, cost. By, I, two, I was, he, to say. 2. With. In, I, Tian, I up, by, with, he. Of, he, and hill, he. They haven't called to report the situation. Maybe they think it's too easy and not worth mentioning? Pan Dehai didn't think that Wang, Scar, and Wu would take the money and not do anything. His Tongyun construction company had a lot of influence in Guang, and there were many opportunities to cooperate with them. They wouldn't offend him over this small amount of money. Pan Jiang noticed Pan Dehai's expression. Dad, what are you laughing at? Pan Dehai shook off the dust on his suit. Wait for a while. You can call your classmate and ask about Chen Guang. Pan Zhang's eyes lit up. Did they make a move? Pan Dehai nodded. Of course. How can I let the person who injured my son live a comfortable life? Does he think he can get away with paying the medical bills? Dream on. The Pan family doesn't need this bit of money. Pan Dehai remembered the pretty policewoman announcing Chen Guang's punishment in front of him, and he was very unhappy. That kid was actually acquitted? Pay the compensation and get away with it? This result was simply a slap in the face to the dignified Pan Dehai. Although he didn't understand why his connections didn't work, maybe it was the policewoman's fault. But it didn't matter. Just detaining him or giving him a 1-year sentence was too easy on him. That kid hit my son, so he can pay the compensation and get away with it. I can also let someone else turn that kid into a half-eunuch. This is much more interesting than a sentence, and I don't even have to pay the compensation. How's the fight? Pan Jiang asked with a grin. He was in a good mood. His balls, which had just finished the surgery, felt comfortable. Pan Dehai blinked. Anyway, his injuries are definitely worse than yours, including there. Pan Dehai pointed to Pan Zhang's crotch. Pan Jiang clenched his fist excitedly. Kill that bastard. How dare he kick my crotch? Dad, let's just turn him into a eunuch. At most, we can just pay the compensation. Pan Dehai smiled proudly. Do I need you to teach me this? I guess even if he's not a eunuch, he should be close to it, right? The fat woman who was peeling fruits on the side, Pan Zhang's mother, also snorted. In my opinion, just injuring him is too easy on him. Why don't we just let him fill the cement column? You've done it before anyway. Pan Dehai shushed her. Don't talk nonsense in front of your son. Don't mention those old things again. It's not like before. The fat woman rolled her eyes at Pan Dehai. Anyway, I'm not satisfied. Also, that girl who dared to frame my son is called Sun Xiaoxuan, right? We can't just let it go. We have to teach that vixen a lesson. Pan Jiang also nodded slightly. Dad, I've never begged you since I was a child. But this time, I must get Sun Xiaoxuan. Help me. Pan Dehai looked at Pan Jiang again. Okay, let's celebrate your 20th birthday. It's rare for you to be so serious about a woman. Pan Jiang shook his head. I don't mean to be serious. I just want to play with her. Ruthlessly and break her. At this moment, the ward door was pushed open. Wu Tong walked in front, followed by Wang Long and 3 other police officers. Pan Dahai stood up from his chair and said with a straight face, "What are you doing?" "Arrest her. Take her away," Wu Tong said as she pointed at Pan Dahai. Wang Long and another police officer approached him from the left and right. Pan Dahai struggled. "Let go. What right do you have to arrest me? I want to find my lawyer." Wu Tong curled her lips. "Huh, lawyer? I just want to play with her." Ruthlessly. "Break her." She mimicked Pan Zhang's tone and said with a fake smile. Pan Dahai's expression changed. "You're spying on me? I want to sue you for violating my privacy." Wu Tong smiled. "That's one thing. If you want to sue me, you can do it later. But right now, you're suspected of hiring someone to injure someone. Come with me." Chapter 75. What are you doing? Let go of my dad. My dad is the vice president of the Transport and Construction Department. Pan Jiang, who was lying on the bed, also became agitated. Wu Tong pointed at Pan Zhang's head. "Vice President? It's useless even if you've committed a crime. Don't be in a hurry to jump out. You're also involved in a rape case. But considering that you've just had surgery and are still in bed, we won't take you away for the time being. But these 2 police officers will stay with you until you can reluctantly leave the hospital. We'll need you to assist in the investigation." Pan Jiang was stunned. "What? Don't frame me." Pan Zhang's fat mother rushed up from the side like a hungry tiger, wanting to hit Wu Tong. She shouted, "You bitch. Don't wrongly accuse my Pan and Xiao Jiang. I'll kill you." No matter what, Wu Tong was an expert in Wujing City's police force. How could she let this fat woman get away with it? She grabbed her fat mother's hand and put it behind her back. She pressed down hard, making her unable to move. "I advise you to calm down. If you have anything to say, you can ask your lawyer to help you in court. It's meaningless for you to howl in front of me. Bitch. Let go. I know Chief Wang of the Municipal Bureau. Don't go too far. None of you here will have a good ending." The fat mother continued to howl. Wang Long, who knew what was going on, thought it was very funny. Wang Long only learned of Wu Tong's real background from Bureau Chief Ding 2 days ago. Her background was frighteningly big. That Bureau Chief Wang would never have the guts to touch a hair on Wu Tong, unless he didn't want to work anymore. Besides, Wu Tong was enforcing the law normally. There was no violation of the law. Before everyone set off, Chief Ding had already completed all the procedures to file a case. "Take her away." Wu Tong ignored the fat woman's clamor and just pushed her forward. She turned around and called Wang Long and the other 2 police officers to leave, leaving the 2 of them to watch over Pan Jiang in the ward. Pan Dahai reluctantly followed the crowd out. He turned back and said, "Honey, Pan Jiang, don't worry. I'll call Chief Wang right away. If it doesn't work, Chief Lu from the head office can also help. They won't dare to do anything to me." He had purposely said these words in front of Wu Tong and the others. Wu Tong smiled disdainfully. "Fine, if you want to make a call, I'll let you do it slowly. I want to see if your connections can reach the sky. Don't worry, let's wait for this great vice president to finish his call, then we'll take him away. That way, he'll give up earlier and not cause a ruckus." Wang Long almost burst out laughing. "Big sister, do you have to be so mean?" On the way here, Wu Tong made a few phone calls in succession to greet them. She also sent the documents she prepared last night to the internal archives of the few VIPs one by one. Now, even if Pan Dahai went to the provincial office, it would be in vain, let alone the people in the city bureau. "Hello, Chief Wang, it's me. Contact Pan Dahai of the Transport and Construction Division. Where's little Pan?" "Pa." The call was cut off. "Director Zhou, hello, Pa." The call was cut off again. "Boss Lu, it's me, Panda High. Something happened here. Finally, there was someone who didn't hang up the phone. It was the boss of Tong Yun Construction Company, Boss Lu. Little Pan, I have a rough idea of what happened to you. I can only tell you that this time, I can't protect you, and no one can. I've always told you that now that we're doing business, we have to act like businessmen. Do you still think it's the old days? But you don't listen to me. You always like to do things your own way. Now, something happened, didn't it? Although I don't know how you offended others, you have to bear the consequences of your own mistakes. I can't let the whole company get involved in your matters. Do you know? You've pierced the heavens, you've gotten yourself into big trouble. Boss Lu said a few more words, but it extinguished the last glimmer of hope in Panda High's heart. Boss Lu had been operating in Wujing City for many years and had a wide network of connections. He was the kind of person who was quite popular in the entire Sichuan province, both in the underworld and in the underworld. Panda High was also his right-hand man, and he had helped him many times in the past. But this time, he was going to abandon him without even thinking about it. It's over. His hands trembled as he hung up the phone. Panda High's face no longer had the confidence and pride from before. Wu Tong glanced at him. Are you done with the call? Are you satisfied now? Can you leave with me now? Panda High asked in a trembling voice, You. Who are you? Why is that? Who wants to mess with me? Why are you still so stubborn? Does it matter who I am? No one wants to mess with you, and you don't have that value. What do you call this? You've made a trap for yourself. Actually, it wasn't that big of a deal for you to hire a hitman to hurt someone, but I seem to have heard something really big just now. I've seen a dossier before. In a bridge project that you were in charge of in your early years, it seemed like a designer had mysteriously disappeared. It was written in black and white in the dossier that the designer and the project manager, Panda High, had always had a grudge against each other. Boss Pan, your story is quite complicated. Wu Tong's words were said lightly, but they hit the soft spot in Panda High's heart that had been hidden for many years. His face suddenly turned snow-white, and his whole body slowly fell limply to the ground. Looking at his pitiful state, Wu Tong rolled her eyes. He didn't deserve any sympathy. If you want to talk about the law, I'll talk about the law with you. If you want to compete with connections, I'll let my father compete with you. The matter this time wasn't that serious, but he had a criminal record in the past. If she dug it all out, he would probably fall into the abyss. Last time, in order to collect evidence for Pan Zhang's rape case, she had secretly hidden a listening device in the fat woman's clothes. If nothing unexpected happened, she could also solve a murder case from 10 years ago. It was really killing two birds with one stone. Panda High was being carried out of the ward, and he saw Chen Guang and Sun Xiaoshuan poking their heads out of the door. Chen Guang had long been hiding at the door, and he had heard most of the conversation inside. When Wu Tong used the listening device just now, he was also at the side. Seeing Panda High come out, Chen Guang went up to him. Hello, Uncle Pan. I'm Pan Zhang's classmate, Chen Guang. I heard that someone kicked his egg, so I brought some quail eggs to visit him. Eat it to make up for it. As he spoke, Chen Guang actually took out a quail egg from his pocket, and then he crushed it with his fingers. Chen Guang? That bastard who injured Pan Zhang. He's here to watch the show. Panda High felt suffocated, and his eyes rolled back. He was so angry that he almost fainted. Back in the ward, Pan Zhang's fat mother also knew that things were getting out of hand, but the biggest mistake she made was the words she had said. She was already lying on the ground and crying, saying that she was wronged and so on. Pan Zhang leaned back on the bed, and his face was ashen. He knew that his whole family was finished. Chapter 76. Sun Xiaoshuan was kind enough to want to go in and comfort Pan Zhang. Chen Guang pulled her back. You still want to comfort someone like him? Didn't you hear what he said just now? Save it and go away. I don't think he'll give up so easily. There are some things that I have to talk to him face to face. With that, Chen Guang walked back into the ward. Wu Tong wanted to stop him. Chen Guang, what are you doing? Don't go in and cause trouble. Chen Guang's expression was very serious. Officer Wu, I really don't want to go in and cause trouble. You don't understand, Pan Jiang. If I don't go in and make things clear, let this kid see the situation clearly and warn him. Otherwise, Sun Xiaoxuan won't be safe, and I won't be safe either. You don't want to see me involved in some case of excessive self-defense or manslaughter, do you? Are you threatening me? Wu Tong stared at him. Chen Guang shook his head. No, I'm just stating the facts. I'm not going to argue with you about the law, but since some things can be avoided, it's better to avoid them as much as possible, right? Wu Tong realized that she couldn't win against him in an argument. All right, I'm afraid of you. I'll go in with you. You better be careful. Even though you're in the right, don't go overboard and let others talk about you. Wu Tong finally agreed to Chen Guang's request. She even sent the other 2 police officers who were originally guarding the ward outside to make it easier for Chen Guang to speak. Actually, it was against the rules for her to bring people, including Chen Guang and Sun Xiaoxuan. But now that the people at Wenxing branch knew about her special identity, no one reminded her about it. Of course, it wasn't a serious violation. Chen Guang was happy. He was just afraid that Wu Tong wouldn't come in. When he entered the ward, Pan Jiang was staring blankly at the sky. His fat mother seemed to have fainted from crying on the ground. Pan Jiang, you're injured. As your old classmate, I'm here to visit you on behalf of the whole class. Aren't you going to welcome me? Chen Guang walked in with a smile and a despicable expression on his face. It couldn't be helped. This guy had only himself to blame. Even at this point, he still didn't know how to repent. If Wu Tong wasn't here, Chen Guang would have beaten him to death just based on what he had said earlier. It was just that he was being sarcastic with his words, but old Master Chen was really magnanimous. When Pan Jiang heard Chen Guang's voice, he slowly turned his head. His eyes that had been wandering around the horizon gradually came back to his senses. He abruptly straightened up from the bed. Chen Guang. You still dare to come? Oh. What's wrong? Did you become so bold after the surgery? You've improved. Why wouldn't I dare to come? Tell me, why wouldn't I dare to come? Chen Guang sat on the chair next to Pan Jiang's bed. He grabbed some melon seeds from the fruit plate next to him and started munching on them as he spoke. Pan Jiang's eyes were wide open and his eyebrows were raised. He was so angry that his whole body was trembling and his fists were clenched tightly. If it wasn't for the fact that he knew he couldn't beat Chen Guang, and if it wasn't for the fact that his crotch was still aching from the surgery, he would have jumped up and fought Chen Guang with all his might. You. Don't be too full of yourself. There will be a time when you'll cry and beg me to let you go. Chen Guang, you and I are irreconcilable. Pan Jiang squeezed out these words through his teeth. His hatred was monstrous. Chen Guang took another bite of melon seeds and turned his head to look at Wu Tong. Sis, did you see that? He's even threatening me? Wu Tong glared at him in annoyance. Who's your sis? Besides, is he threatening you? You're the one who took advantage of me and forced me to say harsh words, right? I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen someone as shameless as him. I've never seen someone as shameless as him. Wu Tong couldn't help but feel a bit regretful. If she knew this guy's mouth was so cheap, she wouldn't have asked him to warn Pan Jiang. How was this a warning? This was clearly a slap in the face. But in the end, she didn't tear down Chen Guang's stage. If she could guess what Chen Guang was going to say next, she would definitely regret it so much that her intestines would turn green. Chen Guang suddenly stood up from the chair and leaned down to close the distance between him and Pan Jiang. He looked down at Pan Jiang and didn't say a word for a long time. Pan Jiang was a bit scared by his gaze. Chen Guang, what are you doing? The police are still here. You'd better not act recklessly. Chen Guang spat out 2 pieces of melon seed shells from his mouth and smashed them on Pan Jiang's forehead. He said in a sinister tone, "Are you stupid? Don't tell me you still don't understand? Haven't you given up yet? Don't you think that if I beat you up like this, your father wouldn't find someone to mess with me? But look at the result. I'm standing here alive and kicking, but you're lying on the hospital bed, half dead. Don't you think it's strange?" Without waiting for Pan Jiang to speak, Chen Guang continued, "I'm not afraid to tell you. According to the normal rules, I wouldn't have to be detained if I paid the money for beating you up. But more importantly, your father's connections were blocked by someone else. Do you understand? It was blocked. Your father's connections aren't strong enough." Pan Jiang opened his mouth, wanting to refute Chen Guang's words. Tongyan Construction Company wasn't a small enterprise, and the company's vice president was definitely considered a big shot. What about now? Your father found some gangsters to stop me last night, and today he immediately put himself in trouble. You heard the phone calls he made just now, right? You also know who he was calling, right? And the result? It's useless. It's useless no matter who he called. No one can save him. Pan Jiang, your father died because of you, and your family is finished. This is all because of you. From now on, you, Pan Jiang, are no longer that rich boss's son. Your father will spend his days in jail. Maybe he'll even have to eat peanuts." As Chen Guang spoke, he kept closing the distance between him and Pan Jiang, his eyes fierce and aggressive. Pan Jiang didn't dare to look him in the eye, turning his head to the side. His eyes were dull, his gaze blank, and his expression panicked. "No. Impossible. No way. My father will be fine. If it wasn't for you, your father could have continued to be his boss in peace, and you, Pan Jiang, would still be your rich second generation. But it's a pity that you offended someone you shouldn't have. Your family's connections are nothing compared to our sisters." As Chen Guang spoke, he stood up abruptly and pointed at Wu Tong, who was scratching her head in confusion. "See that? This is my sister, Wu Tong. Her surname is Wu. She's a legitimate second-generation official. Connections? Can your father win against her? With just a phone call, your father, Monkey's son, couldn't escape from the palm of Buddha's hand. Of course, if your father was upright, there wouldn't be so much trouble. Although my sister is a second-generation official, she's also a police officer who abhors evil. But it seems like your father's background isn't that clean. Can he stand up to investigation? Now, do you still want to take revenge? You want to use your family's money and power to fight against my sister? Are you really that stubborn? I advise you to be a good person in the future. Since we're classmates, let's part on good terms, or else you'll be consigned to eternal damnation. What do you think?" When Chen Guang said the last sentence, his tone became gentler, but it didn't make Pan Jiang relax. Instead, his heart turned cold, and his face turned ashen. Because the current Chen Guang was too confident. "Fine. That's all I have to say. If you still have any tricks up your sleeves, show me. Sister, let's go." After saying that, Chen Guang turned around and left. He even dragged Wu Tong, who was dizzy from his lies, out of the ward. Wu Tong only had one thought in her mind. "Oh my God. I never expected that there would be such a despicable and vicious person in this world. You've really reached a whole new level of intimidating others with your connections." Chapter 77. Wu Tong was not stupid. What did he mean by, "This is my sister, Wu Tong, her surname is Wu"? He was obviously hinting to Pan Jiang about her relationship with Wu Shan, Chief Wu. Chen Guang could not possibly know about this. In that case, this guy must have thought of his father because of his surname. After all, her father had been on TV for the past 2 months and was considered a celebrity in Wujing City. He was purposely creating a misunderstanding for Pan Jiang, making him think that she was Chief Wu's daughter. He actually guessed correctly. Are you born in the year of the dog? If Wu Tong knew that this was the second time Chen Guang had used the same trick, she might have the urge to strangle Chen Guang. Actually, after she left the ward, her hand was already on Chen Guang's neck. You! What kind of person do you think I am? Since when did I become your sister? I'm not close to you. Don't try to pull a fast one on me. Wu Tong was furious. That's too much. Of course, even though she said that and looked as if she wanted to eat someone up, in the end, she didn't really have the heart to do it. She was a person who had a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Just like the day when she had recovered from her emotional state, she looked like she wanted to beat Chen Guang to death with a rubber baton. But until today, she did not do it. Chen Guang laughed and moved Wu Tong's hand away from his neck. All right. Who are you? You're the people's justice. The protector of justice in the world. Officer Wu. I'm doing this to kill Pan Jiang's motive in the cradle. I'm also defending the dignity of the law. Wu Tong spat at him and said, save it. No matter how I look at you, I still think you're going to add insult to injury. Chen Guang shook his head. No, no. Look at me, look at my sincere eyes. Believe me, I'm not that kind of person. As Chen Guang spoke, his eyes widened as he stared at Wu Tong, getting closer and closer. Wu Tong turned her head and looked directly at Chen Guang's big face. She said, what are you doing? Wang Long and the others are waiting down there. Let's go, let's go. As she spoke, Wu Tong suddenly stopped talking. Looking at him at such a close distance, she suddenly recalled that night. Whenever she saw him, her heart would beat wildly, as if it was about to jump out of her throat. The hospital corridor, which was originally bustling with people, suddenly became dead silent. She could even hear her own heartbeat, which was getting louder and more intense. Her breathing also gradually became nervous and hurried. Wu Tong thought that a long time had passed, but it was actually less than 10 seconds. She turned her head to the side and pushed Chen Guang away. Stop it. Give me an explanation. Otherwise, you'll have a taste of your own medicine. Chen Guang flashed to the side to avoid Wu Tong's sneak attack. With a straight face, he seriously said, Officer Wu, you don't understand Pan Jiang. You're right. I just deliberately made up your identity to look like I was taking the opportunity to humiliate him. But in my eyes, he's just a passerby in life, so there's no need to find pleasure from him. But you also saw that he didn't have the slightest bit of repentance just now. He hates me and Sun Xiaoxuan to the bone. Even if he's sentenced to prison because he drugged the class monitor, it won't be more than 2 years, right? Not to mention that he didn't succeed, so I'm afraid the time is even shorter, right? Wu Tong felt a bit disappointed when he turned serious and even called her Officer Wu. But she didn't show it on her face. She also put on a solemn expression and nodded. That's true. Chen Guang solemnly replied, that's right. He will regain his freedom sooner or later, and if he maintains the same mentality as before, coupled with the fact that his father, Pan Dahai, must have left him quite a sum of money. If that's the case, can I and the class monitor study in peace in the future? I'm afraid we'll have to live in fear all the time, right? So. That's why I'm borrowing your power to suppress his heart. To make him feel that there's no hope for him to succeed in his revenge. Or, even if he succeeds, he won't be able to bear the counterattack of my big sister, Officer Wu. In the future, he'll gradually let go of the hatred he has for me and the class monitor, and steadily live his second life. As the saying goes, revenge breeds revenge. When will it ever end? I've put a lot of effort into this, so please understand. How do you know he'll really be scared? Wu Tong didn't believe it. Chen Guang smiled confidently. If it was someone else, this trick of mine might not be effective. But for Pan Jiang, I'm willing to bet 10,000 that it'll definitely be effective. The more obsessed a person is with power and money, the more they'll be afraid of someone stronger than them. On the surface, Pan Jiang looked like a crazy person who relied on his family's wealth and power to be arrogant, domineering, and disregarding the law. But in fact, he was a slave to real power in his bones. His father is currently in big trouble. Although he doesn't know why no one responded to him when he called for help, it doesn't matter. At least it can give Pan Jiang the illusion that there's a big shot who wants to mess with Pan Dehai. I also took advantage of the fact that the armed police officer had the same surname as that high-ranking official Wu, so I lied to him. Needless to say, he'll think in that direction himself. Wu Tong rolled her eyes. This guy, what illusion that there's a big shot who wants to mess with Pan Dehai. Fake your face. Wu Shan is my dad. I'm the one who wants to mess with Pan Dehai. Of course, she couldn't bring herself to say it out loud. Otherwise, wouldn't Chen Guang think she was showing off? You stinking brat. You're really something. Wu Tong stretched out her finger and poked Chen Guang's head. She rolled her eyes at him. All right, there's nothing for you to do here. I'll go back to the station first. I'm afraid there's still a lot of cases behind Pan Dehai that need to be dug up. Most of the credit should go to me. This is the biggest contribution I've made since I started working. Last night, the arrest of Brother Scar's gang was also my credit. I owe you a favor. I'll treat you to a meal later. I'll leave first. After walking a few steps, Wu Tong turned around and looked at Chen Guang from head to toe. She had to say, after everything was over, this brat was quite pleasing to the eye. Perhaps Wu Tong didn't feel it herself, but after that unforgettable night of emotional torture, although that feeling had disappeared, the memory remained. Although she said she hated him and couldn't get used to seeing Chen Guang again, deep in her heart, she couldn't bring herself to hate him at all. She thought about how she always suffered losses whenever she met this guy. On the first day, she wanted to detain him for 15 days, but he walked away with his head held high. On the second day, she wanted to beat him up, but she ended up helping him beat others instead. Instead, she became his free thug. Today, she was used by this guy again. He said that she pretended to be a rich second generation to scare Pan Jiang, but it turned out to be true. Wu Tong had suffered too many losses. If she didn't get back at him, she wouldn't feel at ease. Oh, that's right. Didn't this brat call me sister just now? I'll go along with it and make this brat shorter than me for no reason. I'll piss you off. Brat. I'll remember what you said just now. When you see me in the future, call me sister. Do you hear me? I'm your sister. Behave yourself. Don't let me catch you and send you to the police station. Otherwise, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Oh, you're still thinking about that 11,000 yuan? Don't worry about it. I can lend it to you, but don't think about winning it back from me. Let's go. This time, Wu Tong really left. She whistled and skipped. She was in a good mood and very proud of herself. She never thought that if she really recognized Chen Guang as her brother, she would be the one at a disadvantage. Chapter 78. Why are you looking at me like that? Is there something on my face? Chen Guang felt uncomfortable being stared at by Sun Xiaoxuan's weird expression. He couldn't help but ask when they walked out of the hospital. Sun Xiaoxuan smiled mysteriously. Nothing. I just think you've become more handsome recently. Chen Guang was delighted. He touched his face. Really? Really? Sun Xiaoxuan was disgusted by his narcissism. He poked him in the waist with his finger and laughed. Stop being so smug. Hurry back to school. Today is the swimming team's semifinals. We don't have a basketball team this time, but the whole class is counting on you to do well. Even though everyone says that it's important to participate, Teacher Zhuo will be disappointed if he returns empty-handed. Oh. So I've become famous in class these past 2 days? Chen Guang was overjoyed. He didn't know that swimming fast had this benefit. Sun Xiaoshuan nodded. Of course. The people who watched your race that day have become your fans. Galia, that big mouth, has been promoting you to the girls every day. You probably don't know that she recorded it with her phone and plays it to everyone she meets. Don't you pay attention to the boys? Chen Guang shook his head. He thought to himself, every second of my life is so fulfilling. I earn hundreds of thousands of yuan every minute. I don't have the time to care about what others say about me. I don't earn a single cent. So many girls admire me. He couldn't control his narcissism in the end. Sun Xiaoshuan nodded. Yes. It's not just the girls. Teacher Zhuo also said that he wants to watch your race today. When Chen Guang heard that, he scratched his head in puzzlement. All right, I'll treat it as if what you said is true. I'm really popular in the class, but why hasn't anyone confessed to me yet? There's no reason. As an old bachelor, it wasn't easy for him to become a celebrity, but why did he have to continue to be a bachelor? I can't accept this. Sun Xiaoshuan was speechless. The two took a taxi back to school. Before Sun Xiaoshuan left, he encouraged Chen Guang again, telling him to swim well today and maintain his winning streak until the finals. Of course, judging from the previous matches, this matter was set in stone without any suspense. Even Dong Tao was no match for Chen Guang. No one in the school could pose a threat to Chen Guang in the 400-meter freestyle. Sun Xiaoshuan only regretted that he didn't register a few more items for Chen Guang. Otherwise, it would have been great if he could have bought all of them. Chen Guang naturally agreed to Sun Xiaoshuan's encouragement. After all, this wasn't a difficult task, to begin with. Unfortunately, in the end, he still couldn't step onto the springboard of the semifinals. After returning to the dormitory, Chen Guang was about to tidy up his swimming trunks. When he opened his cabinet, he saw the glittering golden armor. An idea popped into his head. F***ck, it's been almost 2 weeks since I saved those 2 celebrities. Big Beard Deng's armor has been with me for so long. Why hasn't Big Beard called me? Didn't he say that he would give me a chance to earn 100,000 in 30 seconds? Could it be that he had forgotten about me? Scum. Bastard. Ungrateful ingrate. The new king of you, Go Jin. Poor me, I've been practicing my acting skills day and night for the past 2 weeks. I've been thinking about how to become a good actor. Although the more I practice, the more I fall behind, my sincerity can be seen by the heavens and the earth. But you? In the end, you were just saying it casually to be polite to me, weren't you? You never intended to be grateful, you were just messing with me, right? You're an animal. Do you know that your polite words caused the old man to lose his appetite and couldn't sleep at night? King took it seriously. You're a famous director, how can you trick a commoner like this? Are you even human? Chen Guang was a little unhappy. If it was anyone else, they would not be happy after being tricked like this. Turning around, he saw Bai Nyangzi with a rag doll on his bed. Don't ask him why there was such a thing on his bed. There was no need to explain. Jumping up, Chen Guang grabbed the rag doll and wrote Big Beard Deng on it. I'll break your hand. I'll break your neck. I'll wrap your legs. I'll beat you to death. Chen Guang subjected Bai Nyangzi to inhumane torture to vent his anger. After he was done, he had a flash of inspiration. Oh, did you forget about me? Then you don't remember this set of armor, right? Furthermore, I didn't write an IOU. This thing's workmanship is so exquisite. It should be worth at least $2, right? Chen Guang immediately went around asking where he could sell this thing to see if he could sell it for a good price. Heh, you don't say, he managed to contact a famous cultural company in Wujing City. This company specialized in commercial performances and props for film crews. Chen Guang first searched for the company's phone number on the internet and called. Hello, how are you? I have a set of armor that looks quite exquisite for sale. Is your company buying it? It's quite exquisite. It's not fake, it's the kind you see on TV. The workmanship is superb. I used to work for a film crew, and they gave it to me to offset my salary. It's from a legitimate source. He stuttered a little because he also felt that this call was quite nerve-wracking. The company was so big, and these things were all produced by professionals. Who would buy something from an outsider for no reason? As expected, the person who answered the phone only said 3 words and hung up. Where's the crazy one? You're the crazy one. Even if the business doesn't work out, there's still justice. What kind of attitude is that? Beep beep beep. Looks like I can't sell it. Chen Guang threw the phone away angrily and went to hit the villain again. After a few minutes, the company called back. Hello, sir. Do you want to sell armor? If it's convenient for you, can you send a photo for us to see? My name is Hao Yukai. My WeChat ID is. The number was the same as before, but the voice had changed from a young woman to a middle-aged man. Perhaps he was the manager of the company. Although he was unhappy, for the sake of money, Chen Guang still sent a photo to the other party patiently. Within a minute, the other party called again. Mr. Chen. Where are you now? I'll be right there. 50,000. One price. 50,000. All right, Chen Guang had no idea how much this thing was worth. However, it didn't seem too bad if he could get 50,000 yen from selling a bunch of metal pieces. He agreed immediately and asked the other party to drive to Gokyo University. Then, he continued to hit the villain. Since he had nothing better to do, he might as well hit the villain. Chen Guang didn't know that at that moment, on the other side of Wujing, Big Beard Deng was talking to someone about him. Chapter 79. After spending more than 2 weeks, Deng Xiaojiang had finally smoothed out the series of unforeseen events brought about by the sinking of the pleasure boat. The film crew continued to work. They had just finished filming the scene in the lake 2 days ago. Today, they were going to film a battle scene with many generals. The props team did an inventory and found that a set of armor for the deputy general was missing. Deng Xiaojiang was furious and scolded the person in charge of the props team, Xiao Hu. What the hell are you doing? How could you lose such a big set of armor? You lost it just like that? Why don't you just throw it away? I don't care what you do. Hurry up and get me a usable set. I need it this afternoon. If you can't get it back, don't come back. Get lost. This Xiao Hu was even more wronged than Do Yi. He didn't know what was going on. All the costumes and props were arranged uniformly. How could they just disappear like a ghost? Did he bump into a ghost? He was also at a loss and had tears in his eyes. Big Beard Deng's saliva scolded him. He then shrank his neck and slipped away. All right, I'll think of a way to find it. Wujing City is so big. It can't be that I can't even find a usable set of armor, right? After the poor Xiao Hu had gone far away, the site supervisor, Old Ma, looked like he wanted to say something but stopped himself. He had a strange expression on his face. Big Beard Deng glared. Old Ma, what's with that expression? Are you constipated or something? Do you need me to clear it for you? I didn't scold you, did you feel uncomfortable? If something drops, aren't you responsible as the site supervisor? Old Ma chuckled. Director Deng, I deliberately waited for you to finish scolding Xiao Hu before coming over. I was giving you a way out. My dear Director Deng, why don't you think about it again? Didn't you ask me to give that set of armor to Bro Chen Guang? He wore it and took it away. The one who saved Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage, Chen Guang. It was that day. Big Beard Deng slapped his forehead. Ha! That's right. How could I forget about that little brother? Look at my memory. I'm so busy. That kid wouldn't be cursing me for being ungrateful in his heart, right? Old Ma laughed it off. Director Deng, don't worry. Brother Chen Guang is a reasonable man. He definitely won't make up stories about you. Why don't I call him now? Deng Xiaojiang shook his head. Forget it. I'll do it myself. It's already been 2 weeks. If I don't call him myself, I'll look like I'm putting on airs. Chen Guang did not make fun of Big Beard Deng in his mind, because he was busy beating up the villain. When the call was connected, Big Beard Deng said with a smile, "Hello? Was it Chen Guang?" "It's me. Deng Xiaojiang. It's that Big Beard's director." "That's right, it's me." With one hand on the phone and the other on the rag doll's neck, Chen Guang's mouth twitched. "Yo. Oh, he. I-oh. My uncle. You finally remembered to call me. You scared me to death. I thought you had forgotten about me." This was the most embarrassing thing in the world. He was just strangling Big Beard Deng's little man's neck when Big Beard Deng called him. How could he do that? Deng Xiaojiang was also slightly embarrassed. "Sigh, it's my fault. I've been too busy these past 2 weeks. I just finished today. Didn't I hurry to call you? Are you free now? Remember to bring your armor to the set. I've arranged the scene for you in the afternoon. Like I said before, 30 seconds, 100,000. Deng Xiaojiang felt very guilty. Back then, he had helped him so much. He owed him a life-saving debt. At the time was tight and he didn't have the time to prepare more money, so he only gave him 50,000 on the spot. He decided to give him a small role for 30 seconds. On one hand, it was to return the favor and try to help this young man. On the other hand, it was to find an appropriate excuse to give him another 100,000. The money had been prepared a long time ago. It wasn't a large amount, so it should be given. Of course, although Deng Xiaojiang's personality was very casual and open-minded, he was very serious about the movie. Although he was helping Chen Guang, he was only talking about 30 seconds of scenes. But truth be told, Chen Guang's character was just a nameless, armored soldier riding a horse behind the commander of the two armies when they were facing each other. He just had to sit there and pose, and when the other side's commander provoked him, he just had to put on a slightly indignant expression. Speaking in terms of image, Chen Guang had to act like the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, where Wang Situ and Zhuge Liang were cursing at each other. On the screen, Chen Guang's height wasn't even half the height of the television. Even if he was a pure walk-on actor with zero acting skills, it wasn't difficult at all. It wouldn't affect the quality of the movie at all. In the face of Deng Xiaojiang's invitation, Chen Guang, of course, happily agreed. 1 minute on stage was 10 years of hard work off stage. He had trained hard for 2 weeks for this day. He was also very embarrassed. The other party hadn't forgotten him. They had just finished work and they were in a hurry to call him. Who was it? It was the gold medal director, Deng Xiaojiang. Look at his attitude. He was approachable and amiable. He was not arrogant or rash even though he was in a high position. He was so polite to a young college student like him. What a great man. Yet, he was the villain behind his back. Chen Guang was so ashamed that he shed 2 lines of regretful tears. After hanging up, Chen Guang packed the armor and planned to drive out. As for the company that wanted to buy his armor, he had long since forgotten about it. The reason was very simple. One side was 50,000, and the other was 100,000. I'm not stupid. Can't you even tell which is more, 5 or 10? On the other end, Deng Xiaojiang cheerfully hung up the phone. He was about to call back the person in charge of the prop team, Xiao Hu, and tell him to stop looking. However, this unlucky guy rushed back excitedly and shouted, "Director Deng! President Hao of Iris Flower Company said he has a prop armor that meets our standards. He said he will deliver it in the afternoon. There are pictures here. Look. This workmanship. Really authentic. Before Deng Xiaojiang could say anything, Xiaohu had already placed the phone in front of Deng Xiaojiang's eyes. Deng Xiaojiang impatiently waved his hand. Go away, go away. Stop looking. Go busy yourself with other things. You don't have to worry about this armor. Xiaohu was scared out of his wits. His face was deathly pale, and he almost knelt on the ground. He looked pitifully at Deng Xiaojiang with tears in his eyes. Director Deng. I was wrong. Please give me another chance. Didn't I already find it? Why don't you want it anymore? Deng Xiaojiang choked on his anger. He turned around and glared at him. Stop nagging. I just said you don't have to worry about the armor anymore. I told you to go busy yourself with other things. I didn't tell you to get the hell out of here. Big Beard Deng's heart was stifled. Can you stop asking me why I don't want it anymore? The old man was famous throughout his life. How could he admit that he had forgotten about it just now? Why don't you give me a way out of this embarrassing situation and just let it go with the wind? Can we pretend this never happened? Chapter 80. Old Ma was trying so hard to hold back his laughter that he almost fainted. Seeing Deng Xiaojiang's ugly face, he quickly came over and said, Xiaohu, stop making wild guesses. It's really okay. I have other arrangements for the armor. You can thank President Hao of Iris Flowers for me. The armor really isn't needed. You should get busy with other things. Don't let your imagination run wild. You've been with me and Director Deng for many years. Show some more confidence. As Old Ma spoke, he subconsciously glanced at Xiaohu's phone. He was puzzled. Why does the armor in the photo look so familiar? It's so similar to the one we used to wear. After Xiaohu walked away with a confused look on his face, Old Ma finally couldn't hold back his laughter. Big Beard Deng kicked his butt and said, Get out of here too. Old Ma laughed and walked away. He went back to find Xiaohu and asked him to forward the photo that Iris Flowers sent to him. He looked at it a few more times. The more he looked at it, the more it looked like the one that the crew used. Amazing. He thought that Iris Flowers had tried to work with him and Director Deng many times before, but it didn't work out. Although he didn't help much this time, he was still very enthusiastic. Their costumes and props are pretty good. This set of armor is on par with the one I made myself. It's just as exquisite as the one I made. It's just as exquisite. I can contact them later and strengthen our cooperation. Old Ma didn't expect that he was the one who gave the armor in the photo to Chen Guang. That Iris's Flower Company's chairman Hao only forwarded Chen Guang's photo to Little Hu of the props team. Director Ma, what are you laughing at? You look so happy. As soon as he turned around, Jiang Yage, who had just finished her makeup, came over. She couldn't help but ask when she saw Old Ma standing under the tree with a silly smile on his face. Jean Shirue followed behind Jiang Yage and reminded her loudly, Song Yage, don't jump too much. The ornament on your head is going to fall off. Old Ma was happy. He was worried that Big Beard Deng would make a fool of himself, but he had no one to share it with. The other people in the production crew might not dare to listen to Big Beard Deng's embarrassing gossip, but the two of them did not care at all. Old Ma vividly talked about Big Beard Deng's embarrassing stories with Jean Shirue and Jiang Yage. He even showed the two stars the photo of the armor. When Jiang Yage heard that the young man from last time was really going to come to the crew, her heart was already in turmoil. Although Jean Shirue's expression didn't change, her heart was also in turmoil. On the other side, Chen Guang whistled and got into the car, ready to leave the school. What? You mean the school sports meeting? Sorry, there is no freestyle in my dictionary. Only 100,000 yuan. Oh, I seem to have promised Bai Nyangzi and the other two to take them to see the world. Save it. The director is giving you a chance to promote you, but you still don't know what's good for you and take some irrelevant people to see the fun. Aren't you making trouble for him? As a person, you have to know what's good for you and know your place. The director is grateful, but you can't beat him with a stick. You can't make things difficult for him. Chen Guang felt that he could enter the movie of the famous director, Deng Xiaojiang, and even get a full 30 seconds of scene. That was an opportunity that countless handsome men and beautiful women in the Northern Film Academy could only dream of, even if they took the initiative to go to the front door to be slept with. I just went into the water, and I was able to get such recognition and promotion from Deng Xiaojiang. It was really a blessing of 3 lifetimes. If I didn't cherish this opportunity, I would be letting down the god of fate. Although people say that my acting skills are terrible, maybe it's because I haven't met a talent scout who can stimulate my potential. Big Beard Deng has a movie every year, especially the 2 movies that were released last year and this year. Both went straight to the box office of 1 billion yuan. His ability to turn stone into gold is definitely top-notch. Chen Guang had reason to believe that under Deng Xiaojiang's guidance, this natural superstar of his would definitely awaken on the spot, and his acting skills would soar to the sky. After that, it would be the crucial 30 seconds of scene. Chen Guang winked at the rearview mirror and thought, I'm so handsome, if I get a close-up of my handsome face in the movie for 30 seconds, I'm afraid it will have a devastating impact on the reproduction of the human race. There will be millions of women who, after watching the movie, have high requirements for the appearance of the opposite sex around them. This will lead to an increase in the single rate. The birth rate will continue to drop. The Great Huaxia will continue to age. The reproduction of the entire human race will suffer a devastating blow. I will become a sinner in history, and be engraved on a monument of shame. Oh no, I was too immersed in my own thoughts, and my saliva dripped down and wet my collar. Magical power. Close. Chen Guang shook his head fiercely, and his silly disease disappeared. However, when he remembered that he really had 30 seconds of scene, he couldn't help but secretly laugh. He even looked forward to it in his heart. Maybe he really had the halo of a main character like the main characters in those novels. Originally, he was just going to be a bystander, and then in these 30 seconds, he showed a perfect performance that could make the hearts of countless audiences tremble. Then, he had a meteoric rise. In the next movie, he played the second male lead and won the Best Supporting Actor award at this year's Golden Horse Awards. Next year, I will become the male lead of Big Beard Deng's movie. I will become the youngest Golden Horse Best Actor without professional training in history. I will truly reach the peak of my life. That's right, life is often full of countless coincidences. I must seize this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to rewrite the life of the best actor Chen Guang. Something is wrong. My condition is getting worse. Should I find a psychiatrist to talk about it later? I think I can still be saved. Okay, let's go. By the way, I should give that poor company a call. Maybe their people have already set off. I feel a little guilty for standing them up and not giving them a call. Chen Guang took out his phone and was about to call Hao Yukai when his phone rang first. Hello, is this Mr. Chen? I am Hao Yukai from Iris Flowers. It's like this. I'm sorry, but we don't need that armor for the time being. I'm very sorry, I'm really sorry. I just sent you a 200 yuan red packet on WeChat. I apologize again. Before Chen Guang had time to speak, Hao Yukai spoke first. This gentleman was really good at doing business. When it came to handling things, even if it was obvious that he went back on his word, it was still hard to be angry. However, Chen Guang had no reason to care about him at all, because Chen Guang himself was also a pigeon king. In order not to be stood up by me, you stood me up first? First as respect? Looking down at his Tong Tian holy teacup, Chen Guang couldn't help but have a terrible thought in his mind. Could it be that I have unknowingly mastered a terrible special ability? Whatever I want to do, I can control the other party to follow my thoughts one step ahead of me? Is this the legendary master of fate? It's terrible. This is a terrible special ability that can only be mastered by the protagonist of a novel who can live an entire book. Ugh. How Yukai, you are too polite. It's okay. Thank you for your red packet. Ha ha ha, let's cooperate again in the future. Hee hee. After hanging up the phone, Chen Guang sighed in his heart. Why is the upper limit of a single WeChat red packet 200 yuan instead of 1,000? Chapter 81. With great anticipation, Chen Guang drove the car to the Wujing Film City that Big Beard Deng had informed him about. The Wujing Film City was a newly built film and television base in the past 2 years. Its main focus was on the filming of historical dramas and movies, which occupied a large area. How large was it? Chen Guang lost his way in the car and nearly ran into the cameras of other film crews before he was escorted by the kind security guards of the film city to the outside of Big Beard Deng's crew. Kid, don't run around. Wait here obediently. I'll go greet Director Deng's crew and ask if you're the real deal. If you didn't say that Director Deng called you over, I would have chased you out. Director Deng's crew isn't like others. If you accidentally ruin their business and offend them, let me tell you, no one in China will be able to pull you back into the entertainment industry. This little security guard was on duty in the film and television city all day long. He had seen a lot of celebrities and big shots. His vision was very high, and he felt that he had a very high status in the outside world. When he spoke, he was just short of being arrogant. Chen Guang rolled his eyes and could not be bothered to argue with him. He thought to himself, what do you know? Who am I? I'm the genius newcomer personally invited by Director Deng that you mentioned. I'm about to appear on the screen and become a rising star in the film industry. How can a loser security guard like you understand the ambition of the old man? The security guard went over. Chen Guang poked his head out of the car window and looked around happily, looking curious. As expected of the Wujing Film City. Just the area near the parking lot in Zone B, the houses that could be seen were all ancient and grand. Sitting in the car, it was as if he had returned to ancient times. Not long after, the security guard came back. He had a strange expression on his face, as if he had suffered a great shock. There were 4 to 5 people following behind him. Chen Guang looked in the direction of the security guard and saw the people behind him. He immediately understood why the young man looked like he had just eaten **tea. Following behind him were 2 golden flowers in each of his hands. Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. There were also their agents and assistants. Chen Guang was also shocked. He had thought that Big Beard Deng would be very busy. At most, he would ask someone to pick him up. It was impossible for him to come personally. But he didn't expect that these 2 famous celebrities would personally come. This old man's face is several times more glorious. This old man's life is worth it. Chen Guang opened the door and got out of the car. He took out the shiny golden armor from the trunk and carried it on his back. Then, he happily ran up to it. As he walked past the young security guard, Chen Guang raised his eyebrows at him. He was just short of riding on his face and shouting, "See? Am I the real deal?" Real gold and silver were so real. The mentally injured young security guard left in a daze. He needed to find a quiet place to mend his broken heart. Chen Guang stood in front of Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. Then, he was so nervous that he didn't know where to put his hands. That's right, when he saved these 2 people that day, he was quite heroic. He touched and kissed places that he shouldn't touch, and looked at places that he shouldn't look at. But at that time, he was in a hurry and his life was at stake. He didn't think so much at all. Later, he lost control of his prehistoric power. He was anxious to protect his face and left without saying anything to these 2 people. Even now, when he saw the 2 of them again, especially the 2 youthful beauties, donned in ancient clothes and wore light makeup, standing before him with a smile on their faces, he couldn't help but feel that his heart was beating a little too fast. Especially when he was driving over, the two of them were even playing their new songs on the car's stereo. Chen Guang felt that his heart was beating a little too fast. Well, he didn't pay for the original song. It was a pirated version on a pirate forum. Feeling guilty, he couldn't lift his head up high. Others worked hard to make a song, put in a lot of effort, and put in a lot of effort. It only cost him a few cents to download a song. When he was drinking beer, his hand accidentally shook and spilled it. He didn't listen to the convenient and fast original version, but he still went to look for pirated versions. His conscience was uneasy. The two women didn't know Chen Guang's complicated feelings, but they came up together. They had just finished shooting a scene not long ago and were still in costume at this time. Jean Shirue was wearing a simple but elegant green gauze dress, and Jiang Yage was wearing a white chivalrous woman outfit. When they got closer, Jean Shirue spoke first. "Hello, Mr. Chen Guang. I'm Jean Shirue, this is Jiang Yage, and this is our agent, Sister Zhou. Mr. Chen, thank you for saving my life last time. I wanted to thank you, but I didn't expect you to leave in a hurry and miss the opportunity. Director Deng is busy shooting, and Solomon and I are resting at the moment. We have nothing to do, so we simply came to pick you up. After the shooting in the afternoon, please don't leave in such a hurry again. We want to invite Mr. Chen to have tea and chat with us to express our gratitude. Please don't delay it." Jean Shirue's words were appropriate and respectful to Chen Guang, giving face to her savior. But in fact, her heart was not as calm as it seemed on the surface. How many lives do people have in this life? Her life was really hanging by a thread that day. If it weren't for this person who tried his best to save her, she was afraid that her ashes would have been in the ground now. Later, she heard from others about Brother Chen Guang's behavior when he was rescuing her. During this period of time, she couldn't stop thinking about it. Jean Shirue, who had never been intimate with any man, saw this person again. He was the same age as her. Although he was not handsome enough to shock the country, he was indeed a sunny boy. It would be strange if her heart was as calm as still water. It was just that she was steady and her acting skills were superb. Under deliberate concealment, she acted dignified and generous without the slightest trace. Chen Guang was shocked by Jean Shirue's words. Although I, the old man, have been in the society for many years, to put it bluntly, the society of the old man was nothing more than junior high school, and college. At most, I would add my hometown. All of a sudden, Jean Shirue, such a big shot, said such official words in front of him. The old man really couldn't bear it. Waving his hand quickly, Chen Guang grinned and said, "Oh, Miss Jean, please don't call me Mr. Chen. I really can't bear it. Just call me Chen Guang. As for saving the two of you, it's not a big deal. Not to mention the two of you, even if it were two other ordinary people, as long as I meet them, I would also save them. So, don't take it to heart. As a person who can swim, it's my duty to save people in that kind of situation. It's nothing." Chapter 82. Jiang Yage, who was on the side, was much more direct. Her small eyes kept sizing up Chen Guang from head to toe, especially the position of his crotch. At this moment, this little girl was thinking about the scene when Chen Guang was rescued by the site supervisor, Old Ma, and the scene of his broken things swaying. She even subconsciously licked her tongue. "I say, Chen Guang, since you have said so, then you don't need to be polite with us sisters." They were all of the same age, so it was too awkward for them to call each other Mr. Chen and Ms. Jean. It was too distant. "How about this, we won't call you Mr. Chen, we'll call you Chen Guang, and you can call her Shirue. As for me, I'll call you Dear Songya." As Jiang Yage spoke, she leaned over and put her hand on Chen Guang's shoulder, a standard posture of familiarity. Chen Guang turned his head and almost gave Jiang Yage a fright. She was licking her tongue. This heroine, your eyes are a bit improper. In my impression, we are not so familiar with each other, right? We are decent people, so you should be more decent. If I didn't hear wrong, did you just say, dear Sonia? Hee hee. Jiang Ye's overly familiar behavior really shocked Chen Guang. Some people want to ask, isn't it a little too weak to be intimate with a celebrity, and you are not only unhappy, but also shocked? But Chen Guang has to defend himself. In his long life of 20 years, this was the first time he was so close to a dignified celebrity, and the other party was even a popular existence. He really didn't know how to get along with big stars. Did I make a mistake when I got off the car? Jean Shirue was fine, her performance was completely within his expectations, but what was going on with Jiang Ye? Why was her performance so different from the big stars that the old man had always known? Master Chen Guang was at a loss. Although Big Beard Deng was a bigger star, he was still a director who worked behind the scenes all year round. He wasn't as familiar as these stars who often appeared on TV. In addition, when he saw Big Beard Deng, he only had a pair of briefs on him. In desperation, he tried to trick Big Beard Deng into taking off his pants. Later, when he met Big Beard Deng at the tea house, Chen Guang seemed so relaxed and casual. When he heard that the performance was worth 100,000 yuan in 30 seconds, he didn't even think about it and called Deng Xiaojiang uncle. But Jean Shirue and Jiang Ye didn't play by the rules at all, which caught him off guard. Chen Guang was stunned and didn't know what expression to use to face Jiang Ye, this weirdo. Sister Zhou finally couldn't stand it anymore. She came forward and calmly pushed Jiang Ye away. She grabbed Chen Guang's hand and said, "Hello, Mr. Chen. I'm Zhou Yun, the manager of left and right hands. Don't lower yourself to Solomon's level. She's just like that, she likes to joke. Ha 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 ha. We just met each other. How can there be such a thing as dear Solomon?" As Zhou Yun spoke, she squeezed Jiang Ye to the side. She finally understood that this young master of hers had really fallen in love with her savior. How could she let this happen? Zhou Yun's attitude made Chen Guang calm down. He smiled and said, "Hello, Sister Zhou. Nice to meet you." "That's right, this is the normal way to open." Jiang Ye was unhappy and came forward again. "Sister Zhou, you're wrong to say that. I'm very serious." Jean Shirue grabbed Jiang Ye from the side and said, "Don't mess around. You're making Chen Guang nervous. Let's go back. We'll be in the next scene. We need to go over our lines." Jiang Ye finally stopped messing around. Chen Guang carried the armor on his back and walked with everyone to the filming location. On the way, Zhou Yun took the initiative to chat with Chen Guang. She really didn't want Jiang Ye and Jean Shirue to have too much contact with Chen Guang. The two of them walked the path of purity. If they got too close to a young man outside the circle, she felt that it would cause unnecessary trouble. Zhou Yun's actions were understandable, but to put it bluntly, she was just someone who worked for Jiang Ye and Jean Shirue. The two of them didn't want to be manipulated by her, especially Jiang Ye. She was like a sparrow that couldn't shut its mouth the whole time, chattering non-stop. Although Jean Shirue didn't talk much, she would turn her head to size up Chen Guang from time to time, making him feel uncomfortable. Chen Guang was also very busy. He would turn his head to the left to chat with Zhou Yun, and then to the right to deal with Jiang Ye's questions. The situation finally went out of control after Jiang Ye said something. She said, "Oh right, when brother Chen Guang saved me and Shirue, I was still slightly conscious, but sister Shirue was completely lifeless. You performed CPR on us at that time, right? I vaguely remember that your hand reached behind my back and unbuttoned my bra. Then, you used your hand to push up our stomachs to force the water out of them. What were you thinking when you took advantage of us at that time? The feeling. Pfft." At the same time, Chen Guang thought that the beloved Solomon was the limit of this heroine. Only now did he realize that he was ridiculously wrong. For many years, the image of the two pure girls in his left and right hands was deeply ingrained in his mind, and it instantly disappeared. Sister, where's your integrity? This kind of thing happened, it happened. The old man did draw a world map in the bedding after the incident, but everyone had a tacit understanding. Don't reveal it in front of me like this. How am I going to face the future of my life like this? How am I going to have a pleasant conversation with you guys? Solomon, what nonsense are you talking about? At that time, lives were at stake. In order to save you, Mr. Chen did his best. How could he have those messy thoughts you said? How could he have the feeling? If he had been a little bit slower, both of you would have lost your lives. Sister Zhou was still the best. At the critical moment, she stood up and saved Qin Guang's glorious image of a savior that was about to collapse. Qin Guang nodded again and again, that's right. At that time, my mind was also blank. I couldn't remember anything. I just wanted to save everyone. Let me tell you, I swam from the other side of the lake. It was a long distance and time was tight. After diving, weren't there 4 people before the 2 of you? When I rescued the 2 of you on the boat, I almost passed out from exhaustion. How could I remember what I did at that time? I forgot it all. Then, he added another word in his heart. That would be weird. Sister Zhou was really a wonderful person. As she said that, she opened the LV bag she was carrying and rummaged inside. She took out a checkbook and said, Mr. Chen, I really don't know how to thank you for saving our lives. On behalf of Shiryu and Solomon, I have a small token of my gratitude. It's not enough to show my respect, but please accept it and don't refuse it. As Sister Zhou spoke, she swiftly wrote down a few numbers on the check. Chapter 83. She actually has her own motive for doing this. She doesn't want Jin Shiryu and Jiang Yage to remember Qin Guang's kindness in their hearts. She directly gives enough money to make the 2 girls feel that they don't owe him anything. Qin Guang naturally won't be able to rely on this kindness to entangle with the 2 girls, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Qin Guang glanced at it. My goodness, if I'm not wrong, this is 100,000? The old man's life is in danger of 100,000 today. Big Beard Deng hasn't even gotten his 100,000 yet, and there's already a harvest here. Today is a good day to go out, a good day to get rich, a good day to get 100,000. That's right, what tea and chat, what dear melody, it's all for nothing, it's still the bright red money that's more practical. Io, come to think of it, this is the first time I've seen something as grand as a check. You can just write something on it and you can get money? No, I have to go back and check how the check is cashed. Of course, I definitely can't ask now. I can't let others see through the truth of the old man's ignorance. Io, how can I accept this? Qin Guang pretended to decline while slowly stretching out his hand. Zhou Yun hasn't finished writing when Qin Guang's finger is already on the side of the check. Unexpectedly, halfway through, Jiang Yage suddenly appeared and snatched the check from Zhou Yun's hand. Sister Zhou, what are you doing? Qin Guang saved my and Sister Shiryue's lives. 100,000 yuan is enough to send him off. My and Sister Shiryue's lives are only worth 100,000 yuan? Are you humiliating Brother Qin Guang, or are you humiliating me and Sister Shiryue? How can you use the stink of money to tarnish Brother Qin Guang's life-saving grace? Jiang Yage is a little angry. She is a clever person. How can Zhou Yun's cunning thoughts be hidden from her? She would not easily get angry with Zhou Yun over other matters. But I have feelings for Qin Guang, and you still dare to interfere. Do you really think that I, Jiang Yage, am someone you can manipulate? Jin Shiryue, who was standing on the side, knew her sister like the back of her hand. Knowing that she was angry, she hurriedly smoothed things over. Yage, don't be like this. Sister Zhou didn't mean that. Don't make trouble. She might not listen to others, but since Jin Shiryue said so, Jiang Yage first looked straight at Zhou Yun, then put the checkbook back in Zhou Yun's hands and said, Sister Zhou, I'm sorry, I was a little too excited. Zhou Yun nodded repeatedly and smiled apologetically. No, I was thoughtless. It was said that being in the king's company was like being in the company of a tiger. Zhou Yun had been the manager of his left and right hands for many years, so of course she knew the true background of the two women. It was just that the two girls had never been calculative with her, causing her to almost forget their identities. That was why she had interfered so casually today. Now, she suddenly realized that the two of them could not be treated as ordinary celebrities. The three of them are competing with each other, leaving only Chen Guang, whose fingers are still in the air, in the wind. Hey! I don't feel humiliated. 10 yuan is humiliating, but this is a whole 100,000 yuan. It's enough for my mother's medical expenses for 5 months. My family still owes millions of yuan. Don't think of me so noble, 100,000 yuan, I think it's very real. What nonsense are you talking about? How can money smell like copper? It's fragrant. It's fragrant. Why don't you just sully me? Looking at Zhou Yun reluctantly putting the checkbook back into her bag, Chen Guang felt like 10,000 beasts were galloping in his heart, but he had to squeeze a careless smile on his face. That's right. How can I ask for your reward for being brave? Sister Zhou, you're too polite. How can I do that? I can't afford to lose face, ha. Then, Chen Guang didn't want to speak anymore. He felt that this must be retribution. It was because he listened to the pirated songs of his right-hand man that he was now being punished by the god of fate. The cooked duck actually flew away in front of his eyes. Yet, he was suffering because of his pride. He really couldn't bring himself to ask for it. The old man is wise his whole life, but in the end, he still lost to his pride. It turns out that my skin isn't as thick as I thought. I say, Jiang Yage, you don't understand the ways of the world at all. We can't be friends with people like you. Chen Guang also blamed Jiang Yage wrongly. She stopped Zhou Yun not because she didn't want to pay a single cent, but because she had other plans. She didn't want the fate between her and Chen Guang to end so easily. At the moment when she was saved by him, Jiang Yage's thought of devoting herself to him was not a joke. It was rare for her to be sincerely moved, and she found that he was indeed a person of the same age as her. He didn't look annoying, and he was quite handsome and happy. Of course, she wanted to get to know Chen Guang more. At the same time, she wanted him to know her better. Even if she really wanted to give him this 100,000 yuan as a reward, she couldn't give it to him as she did now. Anyway, the cooked duck flew away. Chen Guang was very hurt, and he didn't have much interest in talking. On the other side, Zhou Yun was shocked by Jiang Yage. She suddenly remembered that she was just a manager who did odd jobs for others, so she didn't do anything extra. Fortunately, this place wasn't far from the filming location. The awkward scene didn't even last for 10 seconds. After turning the corner, they saw the busy crew in front of them. Seeing that they were back, someone immediately came to look for Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. You two are finally back. Director Deng said that in this group of shots, Yage, you should have the feeling that you have just fought with someone, and there must be blood on your clothes and face. The people of the number 1 makeup group are looking for you everywhere. The staff member walked over in a hurry and urged Jiang Yage to go with him quickly. On the other side, Jin Shiyue was also caught by someone. The male lead came to look for her. Chen Guang didn't stay idle. A young man ran over and pulled Chen Guang, saying, "Hello, you are Chen Guang, right? Director Deng specifically asked me to guide you in your scenes. Come with me first. Put on your makeup first. I'll talk to you about the play while you do it." It was related to whether he could make a meteoric rise and embark on the road of Best Actor. Chen Guang immediately went into work mode and followed the young man to the makeup room. He thought that Big Beard Deng was really professional. He was just a 30-second piece of trash with no lines, and he even sent someone to talk to him about the play. Just because of Big Beard Deng's care, he had to bring out his best state no matter what. He couldn't ruin his reputation. He and Jiang Yage didn't go in the same direction. The makeup requirements of the leading actors were completely different from that of the extras. When passing by the shooting location, Chen Guang heard Big Beard Deng shouting at the top of his voice. The way his saliva was flying and he was pointing to the east and the west looked really interesting. Chen Guang instantly understood why Big Beard Deng didn't have time to pick him up. He felt that Deng Xiaojiang on the set was like a perpetual motion machine. As long as he stood there, no matter whether he was using his brain or pointing his fingers, he couldn't stop at all. Chapter 84. Click. 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 Zhouya. I've told you many times. Did you not have breakfast or something? You have to be quick when you mount the horse. Do you look like you're running away in a panic with that sluggish look of yours? Yes, I know you don't know how to ride a horse, but I'm not asking you to ride me. You don't have to ask a stunt double to mount the horse, do you? This is a close-up of his face. You better show me some form. Hey. Old Ma. Isn't Zhouya a little too short for you? Or else you can find me a shorter horse. Hurry up. Hey, what are you doing? If the horse is shorter, won't the camera on the slide be shorter too? Are you stupid? How much shorter? Can't you use a ruler to measure it yourself? Why do you have to ask me for everything? Old Ma, are you looking for trouble? Open your eyes wide for me to see. It was written in black and white in the script. Counselor Zhuge opens the tent, rushes out, flips onto the white horse, fiercely lashes the horsewhip, and rushes into the depths of the forest. You brought me a stray horse? Are you King kidding me? Chen Guang knew the actor Zhouya, who was being scolded. He was a big shot, but after being scolded by Deng Xiaojiang, he only nodded vigorously without saying anything on his face. Under Deng Xiaojiang's command, the rest of the crew ran around the set, busily preparing. The site supervisor, Old Ma, was the most miserable. He was like a spinning top under Deng Xiaojiang's command, his head spinning non-stop. After being scolded badly by Deng Xiaojiang, he turned around and scolded Xiao Hu from the prop team. It was so noisy on the set that it was like a food market. If he hadn't known that this was a movie and that Deng Xiaojiang was just standing there, Chen Guang would have thought that he had gone to the wrong place. However, after the bustling and noisy preparation work was completed, following Deng Xiaojiang's order, the previously noisy set suddenly quieted down. Not a single sound could be heard as everyone went about their duties. When Chen Guang saw this scene from afar, he subconsciously began to walk on his tiptoes, not daring to make the slightest sound, for fear of disturbing the filming. He was even more surprised to find that the crew members, who had been running around like headless flies, had somehow found their places. The seemingly messy set instantly turned into a sophisticated machine, revealing its order in the chaos, like an exquisite work of art. Art. As expected of a famous director. Chen Guang exclaimed inwardly. Previously, when he saw Deng Xiaojiang, he thought that he was quite amusing. Now that he was on the set, he was so awe-inspiring and imposing. Yet, he couldn't help but be impressed. His eyes were really different. He could single-handedly command over 100 people on the set, and his eyes could see places that others couldn't. Although his words were unpleasant to hear, like a machine gun firing at people everywhere, they were always unable to refute. With a wave of his hand, everyone instantly found their backbone. Amazing. Really amazing. Chen Guang felt that the pressure on his shoulders was even greater. Deng Xiaojiang was such a strict and serious person, but he took care of him like this and gave him a great opportunity. Previously, he didn't think that this was too great. He also understood that Deng Xiaojiang was looking for a suitable reason to formally repay the life-saving grace in Painting Lake that day. But at this moment, Chen Guang knew how precious and rare this opportunity was. Silently following the assistant to the group makeup room, Chen Guang sat down and let the makeup artist fiddle with his face. The assistant next to him took the initiative to say, "Brother Chen Guang, time is tight, let's make a long story short. You don't have any acting experience before, right?" Chen Guang answered honestly, "Yes, in the past 2 weeks, I've crammed a lot of books on actors. I've probably read Actors' Self-Cultivation, Film and Television Performance Basics, these books. I hope they'll be of some use." Chen Guang's words slightly surprised the assistant. He didn't expect this super loyal brother to be so concerned about this matter. He had done so much research before coming. In fact, the assistant was just a little inconspicuous assistant in the crew. He had just graduated from the directing major of Chinese drama school less than a year ago, and had been working with Deng Xiaojiang's team to accumulate experience. Earlier that day, Deng Xiaojiang had specifically looked for him, which had flattered him. After Deng Xiaojiang had finished explaining the situation, he felt strange, but his fighting spirit was also high. Everyone knew that Deng Xiaojiang had a very strict attitude when it came to making films. Ever since he had become famous, there had been very few cases of people entering through the back door. To be able to get into his film, one had to be able to get his approval, and the other had to be the actor's image that he wanted. Even for some seemingly unimportant extras, Deng Xiaojiang had always used experienced actors who had been in the film and television industry for a long time. For example, Chen Guang, a non-performing student with no acting experience, had been directly pulled into the crew by Deng Xiaojiang and given the role of deputy general in fresh clothes and armor. He had been on stage for 30 seconds, and even his face could be seen clearly on camera. This was really a first in the history of the world. This was a challenge, but it was also an opportunity. If he could turn this young man, who had zero experience on stage, into a qualified minor character in such a short time, director Deng would definitely be pleased. In the future, Deng Xiaojiang's team would definitely value him more. But at first, he was still a little apprehensive. When it came to acting, people who didn't understand it would think it was easy and simple. But as an expert, the assistant knew that a qualified actor's skills on stage couldn't be fake. Deng Xiaojiang had strict requirements for movies, and he would be able to see through the slightest mistake with a single glance. These 30 seconds were going to be a tough battle. But luckily, it was only 30 seconds. "Bro, you actually made up for it yourself. Thank God, this has a lot of potential. Even if your acting skills are like a blank piece of paper, bro, I'll give you an emergency training. It shouldn't be that you can't even last 30 seconds. Then, let's start now." The assistant shouted in high spirits, startling the makeup artist who was applying a wig to Chen Guang. Chen Guang nodded solemnly. "Okay." About 2 hours later, the assistant, who had been proud of his future and full of enthusiasm for life, began to doubt his own life. Looking at Chen Guang, who had connections, the assistant felt that Chen Guang must be sent by the heavens to punish him, right? "I can't accept this way of life. Heavens. Earth. This bro is poisonous." Chapter 85. If he really had zero acting skills, I might be able to salvage the situation. But his acting skills are not zero, it's negative. "Bro, you've been learning how not to be a qualified actor for the past 2 weeks. Ever since this assistant had graduated, he had joined Deng Xiaojiang's team. A newcomer who could be picked by Big Beard Deng was also quite talented in the school. After traveling with Big Beard Deng for a year, the assistant boasted that he was very knowledgeable. He had seen all kinds of people and actors. He had also taken on some commercials and acted as a director. He had some achievements and met all kinds of talents. The investor had sent his mistress over to play around with a rich second-generation heir. Okay, there was also his cousin who was studying in high school. Which one of them had a foundation in acting? Didn't that mean that under his constant guidance, the commercial was successfully shot? In the past, the assistant thought that he was talented and that he would eventually become an evergreen tree in the Chinese film industry like Big Beard Deng. He would become a top director who perfectly combined business and art. He would leave behind one blockbuster film after another that was worthy of praise and box office hits. He would leave a strong mark in the history of the Chinese film industry. Until he met Chen Guang. Whether it was the performance type, the method type, or the most extreme experiential type, the assistant thought that he could explain the profound in simple terms to Chen Guang and did a very good personal demonstration. At the same time, he spent a lot of effort to understand the state of the assistant general that Chen Guang was going to play. You are the assistant general. The general that you deeply respect is being humiliated by the other general in a scolding match. How do you feel at this time? Anger. Unwillingness. Hate each other. With a strong urge to fight with the other party for 300 rounds to restore the dignity of the general. Look at my expression. How should a person look when they are angry? Eyes wide open, nostrils slightly open, lips slightly long, teeth clenched. Come, look at my expression first. Try it in front of this mirror. This was the technique of the performance type. Your nostrils are too big. You remind me of Kong. Your nostrils are almost covering your face. Can you shrink it a little? Bro, you are hysterical, not angry. Bro, the mirror is crying because of you. Well, for a person with no foundation, it is a bit difficult to use the performance type to act. Let's change our way of thinking. Bro Chen Guang, who is the person that you respect the most since you were a child? The assistant chose to give up the performance type. Chen Guang shook his head. It's my dad. Ugh, Bro Yang, wait a minute. I know what you want to say. You must want to say, imagine him being humiliated by someone. What kind of expression should he use to face it? You might really say a few curses to demonstrate, but, Brother Yang, with my temper, I'm usually very easy to talk to. I just can't stand people talking bad about my parents. I'm not joking. I really can't say it. Why don't you change your example? I'm really sorry. When the assistant named Yang Shi heard this, he secretly rolled his eyes. If you weren't personally invited by Director Deng, would really want to strangle you to death. Yang Shi was helpless. Then let's change the person. You are a language teacher in primary school, right? What do you think? Chen Guang was silent. That's my mom. In the end, it was Chen Guang's fake cousin who got implicated. Of course, it was useless. In fact, if it was Chen Guang's parents, not only would it be useless, Chen Guang might even have to go to the hospital to recuperate for a while. Well, the method was also an avalanche. Experience type. Yang Shi only wanted to say 2 words. Haha. God had mercy. When Yang Shi was about to collapse, it was lunchtime. The short rest saved his crumbling mind, but it brought him an even more terrifying nightmare. The reason was simple. Big Beard Deng was carrying a lunchbox and strolling over. As Big Beard Deng walked, he stuffed food into his mouth while greeting the crew members who passed by. His steps were very slow, but every step he took was like a blunt knife cutting into Yang Shi's heart, causing him to twitch in pain. At the same time, Chen Guang also knew that his performance this morning was terrible. After 2 hours of struggle, he was faced with a cruel reality. In this world, there were indeed people who were born actors. When they stood in front of the camera, they were like actors. However, there were also people who were not born actors. When they stood in front of the camera, they were like a tragedy. Unfortunately, this tragedy was him. Studying hard for 2 weeks was useless. It only left him with scars. He was helpless. Usually, he swindled people and lied with his eyes wide open. He felt no pressure doing these things. Although he had suffered many setbacks during the past 2 weeks of hard work and was jokingly called the worst acting in history by his classmates, Chen Guang still insisted that he could become a qualified actor. They were just playing a harmless joke on him. But after talking with Yang Shi for so long, he finally realized that he was wrong. Very wrong. The White Snake and the other scumbags with their big mouths were not kidding. They were right. They were serious. How embarrassing. How hopeless. Chen Guang also worked very hard. He imagined the scene in his mind. He thought that he was that person. He also knew very well what kind of expression he should make in that situation. But when it came to actual acting, no matter how good he felt about himself, when Yang Shi showed him in the mirror, he felt that he was not acting, but a piece of dead pork that had been frozen in the refrigerator for a year. The play within the play and the play in life were completely different for him. But he really did not want to give up this opportunity. Even if he knew that he did not have the talent to be an actor, he could not just wave goodbye to 100,000 yuan. Kid, how is it? After practicing for the whole morning, you should have some results, right? Yang Shi is a good director that I found from the Chinese opera. Although he is young, he is good at teaching actors. As you can see, I really can't get out of my nest. I really can't come out to pick you up. Please don't mind me. Big Beard Deng sat on the stool next to Chen Guang and said with a smile as he ate. This morning's shooting was exceptionally smooth. Big Beard Deng was also in a good mood. His whole face looked ruddy. When he spoke, the big beard on his chin trembled with rice. It was very funny. He really did not get hurt by the curse of hitting villains. Chen Guang looked up and squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying. Uncle. Interrupting Chen Guang's words, Deng Xiaojiang patted on Chen Guang's shoulder and continued, you don't have to be polite with me. Naturally, you have to do a good job as well. Although it's only 30 seconds of footage, many people are fighting for it. It is not complicated. It is only a 30-second panoramic shot. You just need to be in the middle of the crowd. As long as your expression is basic, it will be fine. I see that you are a smart kid. Such a simple thing, I am sure you can do it well. With your body, you are simply born to act in a martial arts film. I have high hopes for you. Yang Shi, I will hand him over to you. After this episode, there will be Chen Guang's scenes. You have to take good care of him. Otherwise, I will hold you accountable. Deng Xiaojiang finished speaking and left. He was really busy. He could not even rest for a meal. Big Beard Deng's last words turned into a sharp knife, stabbing into Yang Shi's heart. Chen Guang and Yang Shi looked at each other helplessly. They sighed helplessly. Such a disaster was destined to happen. At this time, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage came together. Chen Guang and Yang Shi's eyes lit up at the same time. Chapter 86. Chen Guang's eyes lit up. He thought that Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue had finally found their conscience and felt that he had saved their lives, so he should at least give them some compensation. When the time came, even if he had to reluctantly accept it, he would pretend to be unwilling and accept it. Yang Shi's eyes lit up because he finally saw his savior. Although Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage were child stars and had been famous for a long time, the two of them had walked step by step to where they were today and stood out from the other child stars. They did not rely on their unpredictable and shocking backgrounds. More importantly, it was because of their diligence and talent. Deng Xiaojiang had once told Yang Shi that the reason why he had chosen the left-hand and right-hand duo for this movie was because the two of them were very compatible with the temperament of the character he wanted. The other reason was because of their acting skills. Even a great director like Big Beard Deng, who had seen a lot of things, admired them very much. Different from the general young actors, most of whom are mainly methodical and experiential, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage are out-and-out expressionists. The control of the two's micro-expressions, a frown, a smile, a frown, and a curl of the lips, were all controlled to the pinnacle, not a bit more, not a bit less. Even Big Beard Deng was amazed. It was really rare to see such a young person reach such a realm in the path of expressionism. Usually, top-notch performers were the exclusive domain of veteran actors, but these two had broken this convention. It could only be explained that these two girls were born with excellent acting skills, and had perfect control of their expressions and body details. If not for the fact that the two girls were really young, when Deng Xiaojiang chatted with Yang Shi and his other subordinates, he would have described Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage as masters of expressionism. Yang Shi's current idea was to let Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage, the two top-notch young actors, save Chen Guang, who was a rotten piece of wood that he could not carve. They were his last hope. However, he didn't see that Chen Guang was brought in by Jin Jiang and Li Yinghong. He was also worried that these two big shots wouldn't be willing to lower their status to do such an arduous and unrewarding task. According to Yang Shi's judgment, the difficulty of saving Lord Chen Guang's pathetic acting skills was as high as 9-0. Forget it, I'll bite the bullet and give it a try. After all, this little brother saved the lives of two big shots. If they're not busy, they might agree, right? Yang Shi decided to take a risk. Just as he stood up and summoned his courage to greet the two young bigwigs, Jiang Yage skipped over and sat next to Chen Guang. She slapped Chen Guang's shoulder and almost shook Chen Guang's chopsticks off. "Brother Chen Guang, how are you doing? Good luck. I have faith in you." This is your first time in the film and television industry, and you can get 30 seconds of scenes in Big Beard's movie. Seize this opportunity and you'll soar to the sky. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. "You're not here to give me money. What are you doing here? Don't talk to me. I just want to find a hole to hide in right now." On the other side, Jiang Yage's super familiar actions and tone made Yang Shi, who hadn't had time to speak, dumbfounded. Since when did she become so easy to talk to? Jin Shiyue didn't sit down. Instead, she took the initiative to talk to Yang Shi. "Director Yang, you don't look well." Yang Shi was stunned. He wondered what had happened. Why would she care about a small role in the crew? Could it be, is there any difficulty in improving Chen Guang's acting skills? Jin Shiyue continued. Well, in fact, she was still concerned about this guy who got in through connections. It had nothing to do with me. But since you've taken the initiative to ask, I'll tell you about my nightmare this morning. About 3 minutes later, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage finally finished listening to Yang Shi's tearful complaint. Chen Guang was also stunned. "Bro, do you have to be like this? I don't have much talent, but I can't possibly hurt a young talent like you, who was praised by Big Beard Deng as a good actor. From what you're saying, you're planning to retire from the industry and wash your hands of gold, right? My acting skills are so tyrannical that I can destroy a young director's worldview and outlook on life?" Chen Guang didn't know that at this time, Yang Shi was really worried about him. He felt that Big Beard Deng had handed him over to him, and in the end, taught him a disaster. Of course, it would make his life gloomy from then on. "You two, please help me." Director Deng said that the two of you are rare performance masters among the young actors. Please help me give some pointers to little brother Chen Guang, and let him be a little enlightened. He really doesn't have the slightest bit of talent. Even if he knew that his words would offend people, Yang Shi couldn't control his own mouth. When Jiang Yage heard Yang Shi scolding her sweetheart like this, she was immediately unhappy. "Director Yang, look at what you're saying. Is our family's brother Chen Guang so unbearable? I really don't like hearing your words. Fine, this lady will personally teach him. Anyway, the next line doesn't include me and Shiyue. I don't believe that this rotten wood can be so rotten. Our family's brother Chen Guang." As expected, Jiang Yage's words shocked people to death. Chen Guang, Jin Shiyue and Yang Shi were all shocked by her words. Jin Shiyue poked Jiang Yage's waist with all her might. She gave her a look. "You're going too far. Too far." Jiang Yage laughed mischievously. Just kidding, just kidding. Don't take it seriously. Alright, since brother Chen Guang has encountered a problem, us sisters should naturally pull out our swords to help. Chapter 87. Unfortunately, Luli ignored him, because he didn't bring the life-saving artifact with him at all, but left it in the car. Hello kitty pink cup cover, I finally messed up. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have been afraid of embarrassing myself and brought the cup with me. I'm going to kneel. Otherwise, I should just stop being lazy and go buy a normal cup cover as soon as possible. Soldiers are trained for 1,000 days to be used in a single moment. Right now, the old man really needs the Holy Grail to save his career, but he left his only savior in the car. I want to die. Deng Xiaojiang called out to him, but seeing that he didn't move, he simply turned around and walked over, laughing as he patted Qin Guang's chest. Kid, weren't you pretty capable before? Why are you so scared now? This isn't like you. Come on, don't be afraid. I'm here to watch. I don't believe that I can't bring you to 30 seconds of the scene. Deng Xiaojiang pulled Qin Guang toward the middle of the crowd of people on the set. There were already quite a few people there. The nearby walk-on actors were so envious that their eyeballs almost popped out. To be brought in by Deng Xiaojiang personally, this was simply a VIP among walk-ons. Director Deng. Qin Guang wasn't a person without integrity. Even if he wanted to get 100,000 yuan, he felt that he couldn't ruin Deng Xiaojiang's reputation and movie. He decided to confess and be lenient. Deng Xiaojiang glared at him. Why are you stuttering? Let me tell you. You're not allowed to back out. To tell you the truth, 100,000 yuan was already prepared for you a long time ago. Originally, even if you didn't succeed, as long as you just got the armor back, I would have given you the full amount. But I can't stand seeing you being so wishy-washy. Today, if you don't stay in my scene for 30 seconds, I'm really going to be thick-skinned and not give it to you. What are you afraid of? I, Deng Xiaojiang, am going to put my reputation on the line. Even if you don't have any talent, I'll still bring you to stay in this movie for 30 seconds. You can even show your face. Deng Xiaojiang didn't know how much Yang Shi had taught Qin Guang, but he felt that even if Qin Guang hadn't learned anything at all, it wouldn't be difficult for him to sell it now. My uncle. Do you have to make such a grand aspiration? I feel like both of us will be put in a difficult position. As a result, the VIP walk-on, Qin Guang, was dragged to the center of the set in a daze by Deng Xiaojiang. Then, he was pushed onto the back of a horse and sat behind the general with his neck hunched. He didn't look like a general, but more like a prisoner on his way to the execution ground. After a brief hubbub, the noisy set immediately entered rehearsal mode under Big Beard Deng's orders. At this time, although Big Beard Deng had already seen that Qin Guang's condition was not right, he was still full of confidence. No matter who it was, they would not be able to adapt when they appeared on camera for the first time. 2 hours later, Big Beard Deng was completely dumbfounded. He was extremely picky when it came to making movies. Even the slightest flaw would be seen by him on the monitor, and he had zero tolerance for any flaws. That was why his movies were a perfect combination of commercial and artistic value. But it was a pity that Qin Guang's acting skills couldn't be called flaws, but lightning and fire. Big Beard Deng didn't blame Yang Shi. With his attainments, he could see that it wasn't that Yang Shi didn't work hard, but that Qin Guang was hopeless. A good veteran actor could single-handedly revive an entire movie. A rat's poop could also spoil an entire pot of soup. Unfortunately, Qin Guang was the top-notch rat poop in this pot of soup that could fight 100 by himself. Even though Big Beard Deng had deliberately adjusted the position of the camera so that most of Qin Guang's body was hidden behind the general, only a small part of his face was exposed. But that strong sense of incongruity still broke through the sky again and again. If it weren't for the fact that he had boasted in front of everyone and solemnly promised that he would give him 30 seconds of face time in this movie, Big Beard Deng would have gone out to grab an extra long ago. Rehearsing such a short scene with such a huge crew took 2 whole hours. Jiang Yage and Jin Shirue watched from afar, their palms sweating for Qin Guang and Deng Xiaojiang, the 2 poor men who were riding on a tiger's back. Director Deng, I think we should take a break first. Everyone is a little tired. Old Ma jumped out in time and became Big Beard Dang's savior. Big Beard Dang was also helpless. It was meaningless to continue wasting time. He waved his hand. Everyone, take a break. Chen Guang jumped off the horse dejectedly. Director Dang, I think we should just forget about this. I'm really not cut out for this. I'm really sorry for wasting so much of everyone's time. Deng Xiaojiang shook his head. No. This is not your fault. I thought too simply. It's not your fault. You take a break first and adjust yourself. I'll think of a way. You can't leave. Otherwise, where will I put my old face? There must be a way. In the end, Chen Guang did not leave. This matter was no longer just about him. It was about Big Beard Dang's face. Deng Xiaojiang was kind enough to help him. It was fate that made a fool out of him. Chen Guang did not like to leave a mess behind. Yang Shi sat down next to him and sighed. Actually, this is also my fault. If I had come to you 2 weeks earlier and planned earlier, things might not have turned out like this. Chen Guang shook the armor on his body. Wearing such an armor on such a hot day was actually quite uncomfortable. At the same time, he could be considered to have experienced the pain of being an actor. Big brother Yang, look at what you're saying. I was the one who messed it up, and you guys are taking the blame for it. How can I do that? As the two were talking, Jiang Yage ran over with a phone. It was the phone that Chen Guang had given to the props team before the audition. She said, Brother Chen Guang, it's a call for you. She, on the other hand, had become an errand boy. Thanks. Chen Guang took the phone and saw that it was Sun Xiaoxuan. Well, today's acting was ruined, and the swimming competition was cancelled. What an unlucky year. Sun Xiaoxuan asked where he was when he answered the phone. Of course, Chen Guang could not tell the truth. He only said that he was in an emergency and was not at school. Naturally, he could only withdraw from the competition. Sun Xiaoxuan was considerate. He did not ask where he went or what he was doing. Instead, he comforted him. When he finally hung up the phone, Sun Xiaoxuan said that the counselor, Zhuo Jingxi, had been waiting at the swimming pool for 2 hours, but she did not see him. She did not look good, so he asked Chen Guang to go back to school and find a chance to explain it to teacher Zhuo. After hanging up the phone, Master Chen Guang sighed heavily. This is bad. Sigh. Beside Chen Guang, Jiang Yage, Jin Shiyue, and Yang Shi all sighed in unison. Chapter 88. In such a large set, rumors were already flying everywhere. Everyone was whispering endlessly, but because of Big Beard Dang's prestige, no one dared to jump out and accuse him of forcefully pulling Chen Guang into the cast. Of course, almost everyone present also knew that Chen Guang was the big savior of the crew when they encountered the accident in Painting Lake. Although he had delayed their time and things, and also wasted a lot of work, not many people were really dissatisfied with Chen Guang. They just felt a headache for him and felt helpless. In addition to Jin Jiang and Jin Yage, the other 4 people who had been saved by Chen Guang also took advantage of the break to come over and thank him profusely. If it weren't for Jiang Yage secretly informing the 4 that she had already taken care of Chen Guang for the day, the 4 of them would have even planned to hold a feast outside to properly thank Chen Guang. Because of this, although the crew and the actors were helpless and unhappy, they all restrained themselves. Many people even began to sympathize with Chen Guang in their hearts, secretly complaining that Big Beard Dang had to go to a dead end. You said you wanted to express your gratitude, and you didn't lack the money. You could have just given him 100,000 yuan, but you insisted on making him reluctantly play such an insignificant role, but it couldn't get past your own picky eyes. Aren't you putting yourself and little brother Chen Guang on the fire to roast? Isn't that embarrassing? Forget it, anyway. The one who has the biggest headache from delaying the progress of the shoot is you, the chief director, Deng Xiaojiang. These 2 hours have already been wasted. If you dawdle a little longer, most of the afternoon will be wasted. There will come a time when you, Big Beard Dang, can't take it anymore. Everyone was thinking this in their hearts, and their mouths were only whispering to each other. They were all waiting for the moment when Deng Xiaojiang accepted his fate and gave up on Qinguang. After watching for so long and rehearsing so many times, as long as one's eyes weren't blind, they could see it. This little brother Qinguang really didn't have that kind of ability. What's more, it's you, Big Beard Dang. You're so picky, yet you insist on forcing this lord to do it. You're making things difficult for him, and you're making things difficult for yourself. Unfortunately, Deng Xiaojiang had a stubborn temper. Once he decided on something, he would not turn back until he hit the southern wall. Now, his head was almost full of bumps, but he still stubbornly refused to give up. Old Ma had tried to persuade him many times, but Big Beard Deng did not listen. My dear old Deng, look at brother Qinguang's appearance now. Look at the others too. It's such a hot day, yet everyone is wrapped up tightly in their armor. It's so tiring. Look, everyone is sweating and their faces are red. Isn't this torture? Otherwise, why don't you let little brother Qinguang off and let you and everyone else go? I'll go get the money and transfer it to him so that he can leave quietly. Okay? Old Ma began to persuade him again. But Deng Xiaojiang was still stubborn. He shook his head. No. This isn't just about me now. Old Ma, think about it. I called brother Qinguang over, but in the end, I wasted so much effort and let him leave with his tail between his legs. Yes, I gave him the money, and the matter ended. But how can I face Qinguang? Others are sweating, but isn't Qinguang also tired? The pressure he's under right now is the greatest. I called him over anxiously, but he left with his tail tucked between his legs. What's this? What will others think of him? How disappointed will he be? He can't be like this. He's still a child after all. How much psychological trauma will this cause him? I must try again. If it really doesn't work, I'll pretend to let him pass and redo it later. Old Ma nodded. Okay, I guess that's the only way. Let everyone rest for another 15 minutes, then we'll continue. Deng Xiaojiang nodded helplessly. He looked at his watch. It's 3 in the afternoon now. We'll continue at 3:15. I'll pretend to finish this scene at around 4. We'll wait for brother Qinguang to go back, then we'll redo it. Tell Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage to change their clothes and remove their makeup. They can call it a day. They won't be able to film another scene in the afternoon. Sigh. It's such a pity for such a good talent for martial arts. Actually, whether it's his temperament, figure, or looks, he's the best actor. It's just that his acting skills are unprecedented. Qinguang also felt that the atmosphere on the set was lifeless. Of course, he knew why. This scene couldn't go on, and Deng Xiaojiang wouldn't let them leave. It was such a good thing, but it had become such a mess, embarrassing everyone. Zhou. What do you mean by that? Apologize to brother Qinguang right now. At that moment, Jiang Yage's voice came from not far away. She had her hands on her hips, glaring at the actor who had played the role of the fugitive strategist like an angry rooster. Beside her, Jin Shiyue was trying to persuade her, but Jin Shiyue was also looking at Zhou with disdain. Qinguang turned his head and saw the three of them huddled together, making a ruckus. Zhou's military robe was half-draped, and he was sweating profusely from the heat. After being questioned by Jiang Yage in such a loud voice, and even asked to apologize to Qinguang, he looked like he was in a difficult position. He was also depressed. He had only arrived on set a few days ago to participate in the mid-filming, so he wasn't there when the boat incident happened. Although he had heard from others that Qinguang had saved people, he hadn't experienced it himself, so he didn't feel much about it. Besides, it didn't have much to do with him anyway. Today, because of Qinguang, the entire cast and crew were delayed. Zhou was wearing a thick and hot robe, and he was feeling especially depressed. He casually complained to the few small-time actors around him, saying that Guang was really thick-skinned, and that he didn't have the slightest bit of ability, yet he still wanted to repay the favor and insisted on joining the cast and crew. Wasn't this a waste of time? Big actors like us, who earn millions every minute, have become trash to accompany him in his studies. All he did was save a few people. Isn't he a little too thick-skinned? These words were coincidentally heard by Jiang Yage, who was standing next to him. This was bad news, as if they had poked a hornet's nest. Jiang Yage had a fearless personality to begin with, so she immediately jumped up and down at Zhou. How dare you slander my big brother Guang behind my back? I'll tear you apart. Although Zhou was a veteran in the acting circle, be it fame or background, he was a far cry from his left and right hands. Jiang Yage's attitude immediately put him on the spot. Should he lower his head and admit defeat? No matter what, he was still a senior. How could he raise his head in the future when he was scolded by a junior in front of so many people? Zhou didn't understand. In the past, although the two girls on his left and right hands were big shots, they were still quite amiable in their dealings with others. Although they weren't exactly respectful to the seniors in his circle, they would still treat each other well when they met and chatted. Why was it that he had only said a few bad things about Guang in private, and Jiang Yage was like a lit barrel of dynamite, unwilling to let go? Is there something wrong with your brain? Following Jiang Yage's loud outburst, even more people turned to look at them. Some of them breathed a sigh of relief in their hearts, thinking to themselves that someone had finally stepped forward to speak up for the big guy. Of course, there were also people who were indignant. No matter what, with the kindness of Guang saving the lives of 6 people that day, these people would feel that it was only natural for them to accompany him for another 3 days, much less accompany him for an entire day. You, Zhou, didn't see the situation at that time. It was really a matter of life and death. 6 lives were lost. Even Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage were among them. This act of bravery for a just cause was priceless. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.